Brookline, Vermont regular select board meeting on April 6th, 2022. The time is 6:34 p.m. Present in the room is Gwen Tanza, Stan Noga, Bruce Mello, Dot Maggio, and Guy Tanza, our videographer. Online, on Zoom, we have Peter Barris, Fact TV, Mohammadi, and anybody else? 1, 2, 3, I think that's it at this time. All right, we will.
Could you spell a couple of names?
Okay.
Give us a little couple spellings.
iPhone 13.
iPhone 13.
Oh, iPhone 13 is.
Mohammed.
I don't know how to spell it, so I'm looking at it.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Momaney.
Perfect.
Okay.
A
right,
taste of the name. First name, please.
Is it
Mo,
Mo?
M-O-E.
Thank you.
Okay.
For the
All right.
minutes, you understand.
Review changes to the agenda, if any. I would like to add, when we talk about roads, the MRGP grant, an annual renewal fee of $200 later on. So we will add that to section 6, or actually section 6B.
MRGB grant.
MRGP grant, annual fee of $200.
All right, there's more than one section 6.
We're gonna go under section 6.
Which section 6?
B, the one that says 7:30, then 6, and then A is supervisor, and then B is highway grants. I think that's what you're referring to.
Highway grants, thank you.
Okay.
Any other changes to the agenda at this time? Hearing none, we will now review the minutes from the March 16th meeting. And we're gonna take a look at page 1. I have, okay, Bruce, go ahead.
Do we want this written up select board information? Do I'm reading it, am I reading this wrong?
No, he's copied that.
Okay, I didn't even notice that. First item is in the heading of the draft minutes, Peter. The town of Brookline Select Board regular meeting. Not informational.
I was wondering about that.
Down under new business, where it says, Mr. Noga will mail the documents to Mr. Bourne. I believe, and I did say, Dot Maggio will give Mr. Bourne the documents. Okay, which I did. Any other changes on page 1, Stan?
Yes, let's see. 1, 2, 3. Fourth paragraph from the bottom, where it says, Mr. Noga moved that the newly adopted acceptance form indicates a starting date of, it should be April 2022 and not April 2024.
Got it.
Okay. Any other things on page 1? Hearing none, move to page 2. None. Hearing none, we'll move to page 3. Any items on page 3? Bruce?
Down at RFP for FEMA.
RFP for FEMA
Picking
paving,
on Putney Mountain.
Putney Mountain Road,
It sounds
okay.
like Putney Road on 25.
Should say Putney Mountain Road. All right.
There, you're talking about the agenda heading there?
I don't know if it's
Yes.
yeah, I guess so.
RFP for FEMA paving on Putney Mountain Road.
Got it, okay.
Anything else on page 3, Bruce, Stan?
Yeah, in the very first paragraph near the top, I haven't gone back, and I apologize here, I look at your Herculean job writing these minutes up and the number of pages and all the detail you offer. I hate to even bring this up, but again, in the first paragraph of page 3, where it says Ms. Mazzio noted that Mr. Tanza had printed out and provided 77 pages. Mr. Noga, and I'm gonna suggest you cross out discussed and instead state that Mr. Noga stated he had read Putney's plan. And where it then says previous one, and indicate there was the Brookline's last plan that was read. So basically it should say Mr. Noga stated he had read Putney's plan and Brookline's last plan.
Sorry.
I think if you go back and look at the context in the minutes, I pretty much said that. I think Dot asked me something about it and I said, yes, I read the Brookline one too. So it wasn't a smooth
Okay,
flowing.
will this be acceptable? Noga noted reading the Putney plan and Brookline's previous one?
Correct, that's good.
Okay, good.
That's very, thank you. And then in the second paragraph, I should say between the second paragraph and the next full topic, we actually took a vote, I believe, to accept the Putney plan and noted that Dot Maggio will communicate that to WRC. As opposed to saying, because it doesn't say we've accepted it, I don't believe. It doesn't, when I looked at the second paragraph in type, I didn't perceive that as indicating that we had actually either reached a consensus or took a vote on it.
I don't remember taking a vote.
But we did agree
No,
that
that
we
wasn't
did
a
agree.
vote.
We did agree, I thought in consensus, that that we accepted the plan. And that, because I think I offered a comment to that very effect. And then Dot indicated as a summary for this topic, that she would communicate our feelings to WRC.
I'll just add, there was consensus on approval before communicating with WRC. How's that?
It works, that's right.
Okay,
And at the very bottom of the page, Gwen has pointed out that in the first paragraph of road supervisor report, and the last full line, which is the third line of that paragraph, there's 2 hads, had, and there should only be one there.
oh, got it, good eye.
Well, she's wearing glasses. Okay. Yeah, last paragraph on page 3, where it says concern about bill of materials for RFP. The discussion where that information was offered indicated that in the most recent revised plan and RFP, there was no total cost for the construction of the shed. And it wasn't about a bill of materials for RFP, it was simply that the total construction cost was not provided in the most recent project RFP. That's essentially what needs to be said, however you wish to say that.
Could you repeat that suggestion?
Sure. No estimates, about the fact there were no estimates for total construction cost provided in the most recent project RFP.
There have been no estimates for total construction costs provided in the most recent what? RFP?
Project RFP.
Project RFP, got it.
Thank you.
Okay. It's done.
All right, page 4, any corrections on page 4?
Yeah.
Sam?
Let's see, 1, 2, third paragraph down from the top. Mr. Noga, it says discuss plans, and I think what I was driving at there, I know what I was driving at there. I would suggest you replace plans with the 2 words, the need. And then, yeah. And then after the word V-trans in that first line, I'm gonna suggest that there be a period inserted. And then, let's see. What I think, I understand that bits and pieces are put together, and that's great, that's necessary. I again think if we look back at video, you're gonna see pieces of this come together and essentially meaning after V-trans period, and then insert the V-trans TA60. And then the word form. I'd eliminate the word that. And then allow the rest to go through requires this distinction.
Discuss plans to organize a winter budget category for grants and V-trans period. The TA60 form requires this distinction and the methodology FEMA used, etc.
Yep.
Got it.
And then down. This date should be the 23rd. Okay.
Give me a key word. You don't have to give me the geography.
Town clerk report. Oh, the key word is March 21st on page 4.
That was important, or respectfully submit? No, that was important.
March.
Town clerk report.
Yeah, town clerk report. That's where it is. First line. Gwen is aptly pointed out that the date there is actually the March 23rd.
Got it.
It was the 23rd, not the 21st. I'm going to tell you the area for the next one. Treasurer's comments, halfway down the page, line 2. You got dire straits, comma, and I suggest so that there's an intent given. I'm going to say cross out that after the colon and insert due to 81,000 more spent.
Dire straits due to?
Dire straits, semicolon, due to $81,000 more.
How about because?
Yeah, again, it's the meaning that counts. So however, that sounds fine.
Okay.
And I think that's it on that page for me.
Yep, that's all that I have on my page as well. Anybody else on page 4? Go to page 5, please. Any changes or modifications for page 5 minutes?
Someone else has joined your meeting. Yes.
Okay, page 6.
Nothing.
Page 7. Hearing none, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the minutes from Wednesday, March 16, 2022 as amended. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Bruce Mello. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The minutes are approved as amended. Thank you very much.
There's somebody else joining the meeting?
Okay, Peter, I'm gonna have you add to the attendees. We have Everett Mark Bills just joined us, and Glenn Bostic also joined us. EOSTIC.
I need to make it.
Glenn, GLENN. Okay, number 4, members of the public. Yes, Sam.
I just realized, I didn't make a note of it at home, but my mind clicked on it. There was another individual from the public who entered our meeting at the last meeting at 7:44 prior to us going into executive session. And I believe that since that person arrived, I didn't see Members of the public, his name is not,
I don't know who it was.
it was Randy Bills.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh, yeah.
I'd like to amend the draft minutes to include a member of the public. It's on here, Randy Bills.
Clear. Members of the public,
Yes.
Mr. Towler and Mr. Bourne.
It says Randy Bills on mine, Peter.
Oh, okay, I didn't look at the top, I looked at the, down here.
Okay, never mind, we're good.
Sorry.
That's good.
No, it's
All
not.
right, so we're on number 3, we approve the members of the public. Shelby River, she asked for a few minutes to speak to us tonight. But actually, I sent her an agenda, I don't see her online. So I'm going to table Shelby Brimmer. If she happens to come on later on, we can put her somewhere in the situation. Okay, old business, bid review, discussion and vote about the painting bids received for the Brookline Meeting House steeple, discussion and vote on the bid award for the Brookline Meeting House steeple painting job. Just wanted to go through a couple of things I have in case anybody would like to review over it again, the original invitation to bid that was placed in the newspaper, and I also have the ad. As you know, we had 3 different bidders that bid on the project, Vermont Painting Company. We also had New Paint Painters and Momamity Painters. We were unable to engage in consideration for the New Paint Painters because they did not have the lead paint certification. He had his has expired. So we were left with 2 bids. The Brookline Meeting House Committee met on the 17th of March, the day after the bids were open, and reviewed over them. And I was in contact just to collect the consensus of it. And based upon 2 major areas, one was the fact that the limitations in the amount of money that was available. We could not entertain a previous vendor that has been hired by the town, which was Momamity Painters. His bid was $25,300, including the $2,300 for under the gable. He did, when I spoke to him on the phone, he did offer to discount the town and offer that for free as an original bid. And the other painting company, Vermont Painting Company, had a bid of $10,800 total labor and paint materials. After reviewing about 6 or 7 different references, both federal references and municipal references and school references for Vermont Painting Company, I received all positive references from the town administrators and school directors and such. Mr. Bosick is online. I asked him to join us this evening in case there were any questions that may exist in any of the select board's minds. Anybody like to address Mr. Bosick? No, not. Most just visiting. I'm running a meeting and this is, anybody want to talk about? What do you know?
I'm just saying, if I didn't meet, you must want to say something.
This is a public meeting. Anybody can come to the meeting. Mr. Mo, did you want to say something before? I'm going on the bid. I'm following my job description.
Okay,
Just to present the bid.
You're asking him a question.
Oh, no, I got nothing to say. I'm just here to answer questions. I'm just shocked about that $25,000. I should have been 20, right? I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I've been doing towers for over 30 years. So I don't know where that $25,000 came from, but I don't think you have any worries. It's definitely not that big of a job. I think people are busy. So, you know, maybe that's the reason.
I know the building was painted in
93.
80.
Well, I read it.
It was painted in 19, what's the number here?
I don't know. I'm just a fool.
It was painted in November 1982 by Alfred C. Brooks for a cost of $800, which was the first time the lead was disturbed. Lead paint was used prior to 1978. It was again repainted for a cost of $2,200 by New Fame Painters in 1993. And so we thought that we were probably be within the double digits, which we are, this, $10,000 to $15,000 range this
Right.
year. And the only one that was able to provide that. Does anybody have any specific questions for the vendor that the Brookline Meeting House Committee would advise the select board that they felt that the Vermont Painter Company would, based upon the recommendations, would do the job that they have with the finances that they have, and that the bid quote was what the RFP was advertised as. So at this point, I will talk to the select board. Gwen, do you have anything you'd like to ask the painter?
No.
This gentleman's from what company?
Glenn is on the bottom,
Yeah,
okay? It's Glenn and this is Gwen. So Glenn, do you have any questions for Glenn?
no.
No, okay. Stan, do you have any questions?
No, I don't. I'd just be interested in any comments that either of the two vendors, the Vermont Painting or Mominy Painters, if they had any observations or comments. I would ask that we, other than putting forth your bid, not offer anything derogatory about another vendor, just so that everyone's leaves the meeting with a smile.
Okay. Bruce, you have any questions that you can address to anybody? You can address to either person if you'd
Okay, I
like.
have some questions for Vermont Painting, Mr. Bostic.
Sure.
Go ahead.
How long will it take to do the job, do you think?
Probably like 4 to 5 days.
And how many people would you have that will be working on it?
Just 2 of us.
Okay. Do you scrape all the steeple, or you just look for pieces of paint and just scrape that off? How do you go?
The condition that it's in right now, every spot's going to need to be scraped.
Every spot? You mean every?
Right, just it's going to have a scraper go over every spot. I mean, there's not once, it's not like you could pick at it. I mean, that would take too long. You want to just completely go over each spot with a scraper and see what comes off.
Okay,
So.
and the one coat of oil primer goes over the entire steeple?
Yeah, you'll definitely have to prime the entire steeple.
Is that like a slow drying oil primer? I mean, is it?
Well, I mean, I haven't used oil primer in years because everybody recommends the latex primer, but if you guys want to use oil, that's your business. But I would recommend a latex primer just because it's just way more advanced. And if you go to Sherwin-Williams or anybody else, they'll recommend it too. On the old buildings, it just breathes better. But I'll be honest with you, I've done oil primer in the past. I've done latex primer. I don't see any difference in the years that come myself. But again, I don't look at that. I don't look at the place like every year either. So, I just pass by 5-10 years later and it looks the same as it did if I had latex or oil. I don't really notice any difference. So, and I think most architects are kind of split. I see them recommend latex, and I see some of the guys recommend oil. So, but I don't think there's any problem there with adhesion to that, because the real reason things peel is because of moisture that comes through the building. That's the main reason. And considering that's not a heated space, I don't think we'll have any problems no matter what we use.
Okay. Do you normally wash the job, or don't wash the job?
No, I don't wash the job. Just scrape it down, wipe it off with a rag and some water, and that's it.
Okay. Can I ask some questions in a moment?
Well, we're not gonna offer him the contract, but you can ask a question. Go ahead.
Okay. Mo, did you want to respond to anything about the oil priming?
Well, I've found that oil primer tends to soak into the wood, whereas latex is a surface primer. and tends to not adhere for as long as something that's been absorbed by the wood. And I would have to disagree about wiping off with a rag. We always pressure wash and let it dry out for a couple of days, maybe even longer.
The committee did not want the building washed. They didn't want the hosing and the wetting.
Well, and pressure washing a lead building is legal in Vermont. So you can wash it down with a hose, but you can't pressure wash.
But you can wash it lightly with a pressure washer. You don't have
Right.
to have a lot of pressure.
Right.
Okay, just I lost my train. Bear with me a second.
And I had
Oh,
figured it'd probably take us a week to scrape that thing with the little 1.5-inch scrapers that we use.
okay. Mr. Bostic, you said you were in the business for, I read your bio about 30 years, do I have that right? I read it
Yeah,
this
since
afternoon.
I guess 35 years.
Mr. Momini, you've been paying for how long?
Close to 50.
And you're all using Sherwin-Williams products, both of you, correct?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, not lately. Last year I had to use Home Depot because Sherwin-Williams didn't have any product available. So, I mean, it
It
depends.
is on Sherwin-Williams.
Okay.
It's on the bid.
And Mo will be using Sherwin.
He's not, yeah.
We always use a high grade acrylic finish over the oil. Generally emerald or resilience.
Okay, I'm done with my questions.
All right, so at this time, if there's not any other questions, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the bid from Vermont Painting Company to do the Brookline Meeting House steeple painting, as quoted for the amount of $10,800, to be completed, as you were aware before, was it October 15th, something like that? May I have a second?
Second,
Seconded by Stan. Any further discussion? I'll have to say for both of the pages, thank you very much, Mr. Momamedy. We appreciate the work you've done in previous years for the town. The meeting house just cannot afford, they don't have the money. It's all through fundraising.
I
And
totally
the-
understand.
I don't want to disrespect you in that, and we do like to compare apples and apples. All right, thank you. So, no other questions or discussion? All those in favor of approving the bid for $10,800 for Vermont Painting Company, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any
No,
abstentions?
no,
All right, thank you very much. Mr. Bosnick, I will be in touch with you and sending some paperwork off for you. Thank you for sending me lead abatement,
did you express your vote?
I'm sorry,
Did you express your vote?
I did.
You did.
Aye,
you
yes.
expressed my vote, did you?
His was
I'm
named.
sorry, you must have mumbled. I'm gonna redo this vote because I don't think I heard it correctly.
Okay.
All right,
Let's just
I am a
redo it.
little hard of hearing.
Yeah, me too.
Okay. All those in favor of the Vermont Painting Company's bid for $10,800 to do the Brookline Meeting House steeple, please signify by saying,
May I ask a question first? Are we gonna utilize the change order process? Should she be advised of it if anything comes up?
yeah, I'm gonna get in touch with them and go over the change order.
Okay.
Yes,
So
yes,
he's
we have
aware
change
already.
orders, if there's an issue, when I'll be sending you some paperwork and
Yeah, I
Stone or emailing it, and a contract, and you'll have to contact your insurance company to get us the town on your, for the job project, so on and so forth. So I'll be sending, I have that all here,
Thank you.
and I'll send that all over at that time. All right, I'm gonna do a roll call vote. Gwen?
Yeah.
No, when?
Oh, wait.
For Vermont painters, yay.
Yeah, yes,
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 No,
no, yes. The vote is 3-1. The bid is awarded to Vermont Painting Company. I thank you. I did
Sorry,
not.
that went by a little bit fast. Could I have the roll call, please?
Gwen Tanza, yay. Sam Noga, yay. Bruce Mello, no. Dorothy Maggio, yes.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, gentlemen, thank you very much. You're welcome to stay and hang out and watch our fantastic meeting. If not, I'll be in touch What are you looking
I don't think so.
Wonderful apropos to watch paint dry.
You're used to that, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. But you know, we love our buildings here in town and we appreciate any vendors who also show that they have an interest in our historic buildings. And we just got that building on the National Historic Register last year. And so we'd like to, that and our other buildings. So there'll be more work to come. Again, I appreciate it. And again, you're welcome to stay. All right, thank you.
I'll see you later.
Okay, take care.
Bye, Mom.
All right. These policies. Okay, the next item here, and if we see Shelby, let me know. All right, Steve, you had done an amended or an edited, agenda, and you had asked us to put DV fiber, but I just reiterate that we did appoint Donald Demain as the DV fiber representative for Brookline. The SEVCA representative has been vacant for years, it's still vacant. The deputy forest fire warden is Michael Wynot. And
Where are we?
Page one.
Page one. 5B.
Oh, okay.
And a rescue Brookline representative, I do note when we get to emails that Jordan Chapin, Dano Chapin has said that her busy schedule is not allowing her time to attend the rescue meetings. So that representative position is open at this time. So DV Fiber is Mr. Demain, SEVCA is open, Deputy Forest Fire is Mike Wynot, Rescue is open. Okay? All right. And I do have the paperwork for the select board appointment to the Deerfield Valley Communication Union District for Donald. It came in the email this week, and I'll send it off with his name on it. Okay, next item is a little brief discussion on ARPA. A couple of weeks ago, I did some brainstorming, put together a list, with no reason or rhyme or reason behind it, but just some of the things that I thought that we could use in town. But Guy and Stan, either you guys have what does the town need that might be ARPA, so that we can have something to look at.
Well,
I know you were talking about digitizing.
right, I thought about the digitizing, but I just wanted to clear the air so that we know that the ARPA funds, if we use the standard allocation, that we can expend as much as we want of the $79,000 in a very simple way. So just to clear that air, that's what I heard from, and I've spoken to some other towns, and that's the way they're treating it. I
Yeah,
don't know if you feel the same way, Stan, from.
Yeah, I think Dot and I just watched a video yesterday,
Okay.
was it?
yeah,
So when we fill out that form, which has to be done by the 30th of April, there's a position in there where we'll put in the standard allocation.
no, that's not what I'm asking you, Guy, I'm asking you, what would you see?
Oh, okay, I
for
just,
the town?
well, I wanted to clear the air
Oh,
so that we could spend money for digitization of
Yes,
the,
that's actually listed on one of the items.
of the files in the vault. I think it's an important thing to have that in the cloud.
So what's that called?
Digitization, and there's a couple of vendors, CoFile is one. It's an ongoing expense because once they digitize it and they have the ability to access it, there's a fee that they charge on a monthly or yearly basis, but that's pretty much part of the program. It's important to do because we're down to book 22. We've got 22 books done, but as we get into the older volumes, they're far more difficult to pull apart and so forth. Whereas the vendor would come in, take pictures and do everything in a matter of a couple of days, and that would work with. So that's one thing that I'm thinking of.
Can I ask you though, can I charge you to research several companies and get that information?
Yeah, I can,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, how much different companies would be
Yeah.
charging for that, so that we would be able to send them, if we had to do an RFP, I don't know. But
Yeah,
I wanna see what the
Sure,
costs
sure.
are for purchase policy.
yeah, there's
Guy?
two companies that I think of right now. But and they're used pretty much throughout the state, and most of the feedback is very positive. And I understand you've probably worked in offices where that system is in use in your job, your previous job. So that's one thing that I'm thinking. I would like to see the money, used in town for our buildings, because I think it's important that we have this opportunity. Anything other than that, I think it has ramifications of taking care of doing things after we expend the money. Whereas if we spend money in our town, whether it be in a communications field, new computers or
So, new computers.
digitization,
That's what I wanna ask you, do you think we need new computers?
where they're 9 years old.
So how many computers do you think?
Well, we have 4 machines.
So four or five.
What's the cost of the digitization, do you think?
It could be
Didn't you get
$12,000
that?
to $15,000. It's not cheap,
Okay,
but the fact that we've already done half the books should bring our expense down considerably. Again, I don't know until I speak to.
Wouldn't they have to update what's already been done because they're not
really, I
on the
think they can
cloud?
grab that from
what we've done.
Nemrick,
Okay.
because it's in Nemrick's cloud now. But that's a question that we could ask them. We had a representative 2 or 3 years ago, and they never got back to us because they were busy, and we were kind of not sure whether we wanted to use them or not. And I think it was co-file, as a matter of fact.
I think so.
But that's one of the things I would like to see, the money, $150,000, $160,000, that will be expended quickly. I'd
Why?
also like to see.
why?
Why?
Mhm.
Because you can't buy much with $160,000.
I think you'd be surprised. But
Well,
whatever.
okay,
I'll
but I
take
also-
that later.
yeah, I would also like to see possibly the town invest in some machinery. Because I really feel that as time goes on with vendors and their costs and everything else, we just spend 5 hours on moving stone and everything else. It costs us thousands of dollars. It's getting to a point where
Okay,
Mark doesn't have anything to deal with.
Guy, I don't think you understand, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just wanted a listing. We don't need to have, we know we need machinery, we know we need to keep the.
Well, those are
But
things
but
that,
do you need 4 or 5 upgraded computers, you need digitization,
that's all that I
do we
require.
need cameras, do we need?
Well, we could, again, this works, but we could get the Echo, which is $1,000. But this works. The Echo, the only thing about the Echo is the Echo would work on that desk. If Mark wanted to speak, he would have to come to the desk. Whereas with this that we paid $249.
The sound is pretty
I
good.
can move all around. So, that's not a do or die situation.
All right, I made it handwritten notes, but if you wouldn't mind thinking and like sending it out as you think in the next
Yeah.
couple of days, just because we're gonna
Yeah, as soon
compound
as
the work on it.
as soon as I get the chance.
I'm thinking that we may actually want to have a short agenda, a limited agenda special meeting to talk about these ARPA projects, because I know with what we learned on the workshop yesterday, you were in the meetings, that and what other people might wanna see the projects being done, that we really should focus on it. We can't do it in a 2-hour meeting with every other thing going on. So I don't know how this committee feels about having a special
Well-
meeting next week.
I
I know some of the work that you're doing, it would be ARPA.
Well, I wanna respond to that meeting yesterday, but that I tried to understand and made me fall asleep. I had a hard time following and understanding, maybe I just was diving into the middle of the river rather than starting at the beginning of it, but I had a hard time understanding what they were talking about. I couldn't keep up, there was a lot of terminologies there that I didn't, I wasn't sure of the understanding of it. Okay, saying that, says ARPA wish list, what does town hall mean? I think I'm gonna get into it in the building report, but I think we need to concentrate on what needs to happen now. Everything else can come down the road a ways, if we have a good plan.
Yeah.
And I'll go into that later, like I said, you might have a good idea of sitting down and hammering out an ARPA wish list. I've already done it on the one that we made out, we went over it a little bit yesterday, John. And I think, like I said, I'll get into it more in the building report, but we have an incredible opportunity, and I'll get into it later. of what we can do with this money. And I'll state my opinion when we get to it. I think you started it right off. I think we need to upgrade some things in this town hall, and I got some more ideas for the town hall. I'll get into it later.
Okay, I do think it's important, I don't know if you were you able to, well, let me ask you this, did you start from the beginning of the ARPA meeting, or did you jump in the middle, in the beginning?
Yeah.
Because it was in 3 parts, the first part was Katie Buckley, and she talked
No.
about the process, and we understood now that it's pretty wide open, as we were, it's not,
Okay.
we were like, what? And the second part was about the treasurer's job and how the monies can be recorded, so if you haven't seen that, it's gonna be on the VLTC website, and her speech part was about 20 minutes long, and she was phenomenal, explaining how to move the monies through the NEMRIC system.
Yeah.
So, so there is that.
Yeah, I'm just comfortable with knowing that you guys understand what we can do with the money. That's all I need to know. Guys got the responsibility of how to annotate for it. But we got the responsibility to know how to expend it. I just wanna know if we're going the right way and the opportunity. If Chris Campney was right, basically saying it's pretty much wide open as far as what we can do for expense.
Okay. So how does the select board feel? I know we've meeting out for a while, and then we had a 3-week break, which was glorious. But I would like to suggest a limited agenda meeting next Wednesday, just to talk about our.
Couldn't it be more like a work session like we've had in the afternoons, where we sit here and, don't make any decisions and then bring it to the select board meeting after, because they seem to be more productive that way. It's not at night when people are a little tired. For me, it worked pretty well to spend 2 or 3 hours in an afternoon.
That's fine with me,
I guess you'd have to take a.
I don't want to ever skirt around any sunshine law, but I can put out on the listserv, and I can post a basic meeting, it's a meeting, it's a work meeting, is a meeting, and that's a funny thing with the sunshine law, sometimes work sessions should also be.
But if we don't vote on anything, it'll be okay.
We're not gonna make any decisions,
That's
but
right.
we're not gonna make any decisions.
Right, we can follow that up on the
Yeah,
agenda of the next.
You can
meeting.
have an open conversation.
Is that?
We can
everybody
decide what
okay
we'd
with that?
like to do and then put it to vote at the next meeting. Does that sound right?
Yeah,
Does that sound about right?
Yeah, I just
We
read
fight-
that stuff today, and it's a close call, but as long as we're not making any, as long as we're just working.
Right.
On detail, looking at detail,
Right.
We're taking our
data.
notes,
Right.
and then we bring it to the select board
Okay.
as an agenda, votes in that in
Right.
public in the next meeting.
This is a good idea, this is a crummy idea.
When would you like to have an ARPA meeting to workshop meeting for us? I'm pretty available.
I'm available both,
This week is pretty full for me, but next week I'm open for.
Next week, yeah,
I'm open for Tuesday, but I've got a 9:30 appointment for grants on the 14th, which is a Thursday.
I kinda,
19th or 20th?
I think I gotta.
What day is it on?
That's a
Tuesday or
Tuesday and a
Wednesday?
Wednesday.
Tuesday would be good,
Yes,
maybe around 1:00 in the afternoon.
yeah, okay, but Tuesday you're open here.
Right, but at 1:00 by then,
Close.
we're pretty much got everything under control. And I can, come in and out, but basically it's for you folks to sit down and.
Yeah.
You're the treasurer.
All right, let's
Well,
have,
no, I know what my responsibility is, I know how to record it, I've worked with I've spoken with other treasurers and see what's going on. So I have an idea, it's we've already isolated the account.
that's
we have
all
it-
we needed to do, we're good, we're good.
We already have it as an isolated account, and then what I'll do is I'll put sublets in there. So that if we spend on something, it'll be easy to be recorded,
Okay.
easy to be seen, and we're all
Could you
good.
give me one small favor? You know what I'm gonna ask? Give me a balance. And
$4,600,
That's what we have right now.
right now, counting the $667 that we had for the rent for this month.
That's including this rent. Where are we at? April.
Okay.
Six
What's
sixty-six,
that again?
46 and change.
Tuesday, April 19th.
Thank you.
Is that the right thing? No, wait,
No,
April 12th.
All right.
I was like, that's scared.
Yeah.
April 12th at 1 p.m. We'll have a committee working meeting to look at our ARPA knowledge. And at that time, we can log into our portal. There are roles that have to be assigned, and they suggest that for every department assignment, that there'll be 2 select board members, and or 2 people. So since we are such a small committee, we will all have several
Did
jobs.
we establish the portal? I thought we did.
We did.
Yes,
But
okay.
we have to assign roles in the portal, and they said that you need to have at
2.
least 2, and from the work webinar yesterday, it sounded like it was more
The
than just you
treasurer
and
and
I.
the head, and usually the select board chair. That's what
Well,
most
that's
of
what
the
we
towns
signed
do.
up for,
Yeah,
but
okay.
from what I understand, I thought there were more than one type of committee. We'll have to see.
Okay.
That day,
All right.
we'll work through that.
Okay.
That would be great. I'll feel much better with that.
To assist you, one bit of information that came up is a new employee at BLTC that deals with the accounting end of town business, and her name is Sarah Macy.
Okay.
She's got this ARPA thing down to a
Oh,
science. She gave
terrific.
examples. I would suggest if you wanna get it from the horse's mouth, that's her name, Sarah Macy.
VLC treasurer?
VLCT, no, she's not a treasurer.
Just, okay.
Her assignment is to help town municipalities with their accounting systems, and she's sharp on ARPA.
She does governmental accounting,
There you go.
and it was pretty,
She made it so simple.
Let me ask a dumb question. I hope it's not dumb.
Well, it is pretty simple. We already isolated the account, like I said.
oh,
We have it in a chart of accounts. We have it as a separate thing. And the bottom line is that we can put the sublets in there, but I certainly will, I listen to anybody and makes my job easier. I'm all for that.
Yeah.
Can I ask, what can't we use the money for?
Yeah.
Um,
And
at that meeting, we can
You didn't see
discuss it.
that?
Engine, what'd you say?
You didn't see the list? She had a list there.
No, that's probably when I fell asleep, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
I'll be fun being fun.
pretty much you can use it for anything other than, I think, and again, I don't know if that's been clarified, whether we can pay off a.
No loans.
No loans.
Not a loan. I'm talking about the grant money, the matching funds.
Yeah,
Yes, we can.
Okay, so that's, all right, that was the only one that I had in question, not that I'm recommending that, but that was just an option.
Savvy with the computer.
A little bit.
If you log on to the VLCT website, go to ARPA.
Yeah, she's got the whole,
The whole video that was there yesterday, I think it should be there today. And you can watch it again or
Yeah.
just speed read it
and
through
then,
it.
yeah, and come up with, okay. Because I was pretty out straight yesterday when I was watching.
Yeah, sometimes you have to watch those things actually 2 or 3 times because you don't absorb everything.
When I was going to college, this is, to me, it was a known fact, you read the book once, read it through, you go back the second time and really understand.
Yeah, you do, and there's a lot of truth in it.
Okay,
Okay, we're gonna move on now to new business. I have it here, I'm gonna read this thing, and it's very,
Thank you.
it's, okay, introduction for the idea, which we have brought up before, for a Brookline neighborhood gathering event. Going to be led by the Brookline Meeting House Committee and hopefully other community volunteers. The suggested dates that they would like, the Brookline Meeting House Committee would like to see that this event happen would be Saturday, July 9th, and or rain date Sunday, July 10th. It's not the 4th of July weekend, it's the weekend after, but we do hope that the weather would be nice. We would look to provide a day this summer, or a partial day this summer, with town residents where they can gather to enjoy each other's companies and visit the historically important areas in Brookline, including the Round Schoolhouse, the Brookline Meeting House, historic homesteads. Suggested ideas that are included but are not limited to having an ice cream social, attend afternoon barbecue, a food truck, children's activities, softball game, photography contest by residents of Brookline locations during the different seasons to be put out into a fundraising calendar sale for the holidays. This was Cynthia Now's idea. The collecting suggestions for ARPA fund applications that are also important to the residents could be part of that activity, as Chris Campany suggested. The July Planning Committee is requesting a consideration of using some of the monies in Fund 6, identified as the community fund monies to support the program. For example, when I researched renting porta potties or a tent or supplies, I mean, there are costs associated with that. Back in Friday, November 26th, the Brookline Treasurer noted that the Fund 6 Old Community Group has been inactive and cannot be deleted from our accounting system because it's prevented by NEMRIC. But there is a positive account balance of $2,069.25. So I would like the board to do one of two things tonight, and that would be to consider the July 9th date for the committee to start researching and working on this, and we will do an outreach through other, besides just at that committee, besides the date, but also consideration of being able to not use Brookline Meeting House monies, but to spend down the community group money for community activity.
Yeah.
So, yes, Bruce.
Stephanie and Susie said you want to be a part of something like this.
Yeah, she said they would like to
Okay.
participate in this.
And this, I state right now, has nothing to do with that, it's just a reaction to an email. Did you see about the pin that you need for the?
Yeah, I have to go look it up, I don't have it.
Okay, I just wanted to remind you that that's an update.
Okay,
This is good.
so is July 9th, 10th that weekend? I mean, I know we have to contact our insurance, insurance to see about having this event. And, like I said, tent rentals and porta potties and chairs and tables and supplies. But if we knew that they didn't have to fundraise for this, then it would make the whole planning process, even for a good 5 or 6 hour day, or, Can I tell the committee that we can start calling vendors and looking for renting porta potties and that for that weekend? How do we go, what would you
We don't have to
suggest?
vote on that, it's.
I think it has to be a little more organized before you start calling
Well, no,
that's for
we
them
need
to
to
do.
reserve, I wanna know, can we reserve the date?
Right,
Does the board support this activity?
go ahead, Stan.
I have been through meetings with other organizations where there's a good plan, it's a wonderful plan, a lot of thought, time and effort went into it. And then when the day comes and people show up, the number of people that show up makes all the effort, it doesn't match, there's no justification.
It's frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Mhm.
So I'm wondering if we just through the kind efforts of the boardness, just ask, if we were to do this on July 9th or 10th, how many people would be interested in attending? If we get 20 people, I don't know if that's worth it. If we get 25, what number? Because I just hate to see the committee and us, both groups have a lot of time and effort already that they expend normally. To add another thing and find out that we're gonna get 15, 20, 25, I guess we need to reconsider that. And not making it a guarantee that they tell us they're coming, but would you be inclined or would you intend? So we have some reference point before we do any formal planning. I don't know how that sounds.
No.
So,
Okay, I will bring this up to the meeting, Brook BMH tomorrow night's meeting, that's a good point.
you have a meeting tomorrow night?
Yep.
Okay,
So, but is the date, if we're gonna start looking at it, can we start talking, trying to solicit other volunteers? We need to say, are you available, can you help us plan an event for July 9th? That's our first step, try to get more people.
Does the kitchen work in the meeting house at all? No, I mean, is it all,
There's water.
okay.
The stove is here, I don't know if it's hooked up to gas.
Stove, working.
Stove's working?
Yeah, new stove.
Okay, I would say if we're only looking at 2 weeks to the next meeting, that even reserving things now, can we wait 14 days?
Sure.
I mean, that just, plan on the date, but
To get a better handle.
get this notice out and see what we get, give them the date of the next select board meeting, the day before. Not them, but the towns, ask to reply by the 19th and send a letter to whatever, whether us on the board or the town website or whatever, to indicate whether they think they might attend. And then decide how far we should go further in efforts in that.
Okay, so if I need to spend money to do a mail survey for the town, can I?
Just
How
say-
else you wanna do it?
Well, I would say that, town fathers and mothers are thinking of it.
Oh, you mean just do this, sir?
Just, on the Livorno site, not a formal thing that's sent out to everybody in town,
right.
but just a quick thing and that they
See
all
if we
read
get
it,
20, 30
the 80 or 100 people that are on this, and, ask if they would be kind enough to solicit their friends, and just send and give them an email address that we can use
Okay.
to look at and register between now and
Bring 5 people.
the 19th, and
Okay.
I want
Yeah,
to.
it's so hard because, weather can be a factor. There's so many different things
You
that
can
can happen.
avoid that, but at least it'll show intent.
No, but I think the attempt is there, I remember when we used to do the Thanksgiving dinners, initially they were pretty much fun and there was a lot of people that showed up and then for some reason it just started to peter out.
One
and I
year
don't
we had
know
an
why.
Easter egg hunt, and it was a great attendance. The next year, not even
That's fine,
half.
who the volunteer is that's gonna run the program, and that's, it's all about the volunteers.
Yeah,
So I will approach the Brookline Meeting House
Just okay,
tomorrow.
I offer that,
That's
whatever
fine.
anyone else thinks is fine, I'm accepting, I'm just offering an idea to be helpful, that's.
I would touch base with Lori Clark because she used to do those things before and what's her name, Neil.
Yeah,
Joyce
Joyce,
Mears.
yeah.
Joyce and Lori, they were very instrumental before, and they might be, maybe they wouldn't be able to do something, but maybe they can give you some good ideas or something.
I did review over the binders of the different parties that have been held in the town over the years, and it's just so neat to see, the
Oh,
residents.
no doubt.
25, 30 years younger and 50
Yeah.
years younger, it was like, oh, Cynthia now is running around on the field and everything else, so it was pretty cool to see that. All right, so I will follow up on that, thank you for your consideration, that will be, if you wanted to put in your mind calendar that date, that's what we're aiming at, that seems to be the best for that.
July 9th?
Yeah, 9th to 10th.
July 9th, correct,
9th and 10th.
okay.
Or 9th to 10th.
All right, the next item, the vendor list. I spoke with Judy Akampora twice, again today. We have a list that was approved last year, and Judy would like us, I'm gonna ask to table this because Judy and I are gonna get together. There may be some additional vendors that we may be adding to the list, and there may be some that need to come off. And so if we're gonna table this to the April
20th.
20th meeting, if that's okay with everybody else. Yes,
Just
Dan?
a question, I know at the organizational meeting, we had referenced this, we had pretty much agreed that the list we had was okay. And then we added, or made sure we added, 1 or 2 more names.
Yep.
That we had,
Right.
and so is what you're hearing that list is inadequate?
Judy wants to go double check, make sure that we have all our ducks in a row. She's going through the files and for example, she found the card tree has to have
Yeah.
insurance, something has to be brought up to date, stay on. And she said there may be another vendor that we may want to include that
Okay.
has not been on.
I
The
see.
reasons for that is because we just had an audit about workman's comp and so forth.
Uh-huh.
And the insurance community is the one who is really demanding this, and we need to do it. It's something that maybe fell by the wayside or wasn't totally watched, but now they're watching it very carefully, is like
Thank you for
everything else.
sharing this.
So it's not just our town, it's every town that has to do this. Just so everybody knows that we're not
Yeah.
singling out anybody or anything. It's a requirement by the insurance
That's in the
community.
streets.
Did you have that other electrician on there that did the work in here?
It's not on here now.
Okay,
That's what I'm saying. We need to, there has been,
okay.
this was done in July last year.
No, right, okay. Which is before that.
Okay, all right, and that's it for our new business at this time, unless anybody else has another item? Yes,
I
sir.
would just like to bring to the board's attention, I sent an email in regards to VMIRS, in regards to 401k and so forth and different things. I've sent you the email and at some point, hopefully you'll read it, but it seems our best option to satisfy the commitment we made to Mark. And it also means that the town would have to join as a town, and anybody who works those required hours that the perimeters are, we could join that. It's a retirement thing, or it's 2 points, either a retirement fund or a 401 fund. And right now, it seems more than likely the 401 fund would work well for us. But again, that's something you can review. The people from VMIRS will come or join us on a Zoom meeting to give you a little feedback on what it is and show you what the advantages are for having it.
Is there a deadline as to when we need to do this?
Oh, well, there was an April, it says, every quarter, and
Okay.
I think April 1st was the last one. But, the bottom line is that whatever we have to do, if we have to play catch up, we play catch up. But it's to get the ball rolling, and then we're into it, and once we're enrolled, then things will run smoothly. And it's not only for us, but going forward for
So
people.
somebody like Mark would be contributing to that? How's
The
that?
town matches whatever it is. You'd have to read, I sent an email on March 17th. It has all the information that you need and explains how it works. The town has to commit, match the funds as we said, but it also costs the town, I think, 1% or something. The town has to contribute a certain thing as the membership fee.
Right.
But it's a good
1%
organization.
of what?
It was sent.
1% of the, I believe I'm not sure if it's the payroll. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at that again because I haven't looked at it since the
So
17th.
is this more beneficial than just having somebody contribute to their, like in Mark's case?
All right, you have to meet a criteria. You have to be more than 28 hours or 24 hours as a full-time employee or work so many hours a
That
year.
doesn't answer my question.
What's the question?
What I'm driving at is that if we had just set up something simple for Mark, you're involving, if I understand correctly, the whole town in respect, let me finish. In respect that if we have other employees that meet that criteria, it would fall into that. Do I have that
Right. The
Rather
town,
than- rather than just deal with, do Mark's situation individually.
okay, when I went to the bank to see if the town could just do a one thing, the bank was not interested, said it didn't do anything like that. So basically you have to join a larger organization, and VMERS, which is a state retirement fund, was the one that I was steered to, and when I spoke with them, they were very pleasant, very nice, and they sent an email, which I sent to everybody, and it explains the whole program, what the cost is to the town, which is minimal considering what it does. So,
That is a concern if it's one person versus anybody.
Well, I'm thinking
We'll have
that,
to
you
think
know.
about that.
I'd rather go the other way, but but I'm always the kind of person who likes to go down the road 20 years too. If we have 2, 3, 4, 5 more employees, then we've got a system set up that
Yeah.
will accommodate them.
once the town is a member, then that person can join if they so elect, or if the town is part of the contractual agreement that they have for them, whatever it is. But you have to be a member of VMERS and
In so many hours per week.
or a year based upon. But it seems to be the only viable option after I've explored a few different things, so that we can say that if, not for anything, but if a person goes and opens a 401k and we say we're gonna match, 5%, well, we don't know if that person's put 5% in, there's a lot of different things where this is a structured plan and it seems to work pretty well.
And we can do this now.
Yes, we can, well, I think the opportunity to join is April, that's, one of every 3 months, there's a window for people to join.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's too late for this month or not, but it's something you need to read and consider, and then we'll find out when we can join. But if we can't join in April, May, June is the next opportunity, I
And then
believe.
just make catch up with Mark.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so it's important that all of us go back and look for the email from March 17th.
March 17th, yes.
And from Guy about VMERS.
Yeah, I saw
And
it.
I put it for the agenda for the April 20th.
It's pronounced
meeting.
VMERS.
Sounds good.
VMERS.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, thank you, Guy, for that, that's
Yes,
great.
thank you.
That was that.
17.
After that.
Okay, all right, so reports and updates, road supervisor Mark Bills, I just have, if you got it, updates on road conditions, summer equipment. Then we'll talk about the RFPs for the 2 paving and the culvert on Holland Hill and the leaf blower. So Mark, you can just review what's going on?
Okay, I'll try to make it short. So I guess more than anything, since our last meeting, I have applied stone to the roads and the areas that were stopped and wet, and that were the troubles. And they reached a point where I could take the grader back out and started smoothing them back up. And we're making great progress now with putting roads back in shape. The stone blends nicely with the gravel, it's soft and it's gonna absorb it and make a great base. Also, we met with Megan Brown and talked about everything that town needed to come up to code on. Stan was there and Archie and
Guy was there as well.
and Guy, yes, and we were able to gather good information. We also, one of the highlights to that meeting, I felt, was our road segments that need to be stone line ditches and culvert upgrades. Megan brought it to our attention that we need to get like so many segments accomplished by 2023. And the rest will have to be done by 2025. So at the rate we were going, we're gonna run behind if we don't step it up a little. So that was good information to get. I also met with Dot and Stan at the town of Newfane's town garage to look at the portable leaf blower that they use to clean their ditches, clean the leaves and sticks from their ditches and culverts. And it was quite an impressive little machine. And they actually rigged theirs up, came as a trailer to be towed, but they had it hooked to a frame that they can pick up with their bucket loader and drive down the road with the bucket loader, remote control. Very strong wind turbine on it. So I thought that was great, that was made great.
Well, you know, I didn't, Jay Wilson was ill, so Mike Fontaine helped us out, but Jay was supposed to send me what the RFP was for Newfane so that we can get that going, and he hasn't. I'm sure he's just not feeling well, but I will follow up on that.
Okay. Or yeah, I wasn't sure, you know, we do have a deadline on that grant that we have to meet if we're gonna follow through, so. I understand talking with Mike Fontaine at that meeting that they do a lot of dealing with Tenco, who was selling this particular item. And now they no longer sell it, they dealt with H.T. Fairfields. And I'm not sure if there's any others in the area. Stan?
Yeah, I spent some time on this morning.
Yep.
And there are 4 different locations that have this kind of thing for sale.
Okay,
I'd be happy to provide you with the names of the 4.
sure.
All 4 have sites throughout New England and parts of the East Coast of the United States.
Okay.
You're right, Tenco, I've looked under municipal equipment and Tenco showed up. And it looked like they're primarily dealing with heavy trucks and stuff that you use for cleaning the airport runway. So, and they're not offering in their list of sales items a leaf blower, they're just not listing it.
Sure.
But one that is probably gonna be among the 2 top is Finch, Finch, Turf, Turf. I looked on their website and they had new and used available. The new ranged in price from $10,000 to $15,000, which is significantly greater than the grant that we're getting for it.
Yeah.
I then looked used under Finch, and they have 3 for sale right now for $4,995. They're almost exactly what we looked at over the Newfane. So, I'm gonna make another suggestion in a moment. I looked at Fairfields. They did not have any new or used showing on their website. And I also looked under another website for a company in Colchester, Vermont called Beauregard Equipment. They rent equipment, and I have a name and a number if you want to call to see if it can be competitive with the numbers you got for other things this summer.
Sure.
Lady's name is Thelma Sibley. I'll, after the meeting, I'll give you this if you want, or sort of don't take that time. They have a site in Concord, and they have one in Colchester. Finch has got a site in Avon, Mass, a site in Staunton, Mass, a site in New Milford, Connecticut, and they've got some in New York. But those three that I just mentioned are the closest geographically. If you take a map and pick a ruler, those three, and they have sites out in the Midwest, and I'm not sure where these three used ones are, but they do sell new ones. And they didn't give prices, but I'm gonna make a suggestion. I didn't notice when we were over in New Hampshire, New Thing, if theirs was, and I don't think it was, EFI, electronic fuel injection, or regular carburation. I got the sense it was regular carburation. But there are two things I'd ask that we look at and consider, is that the EFI will save gas consumption by 20%.
Yeah.
So over a long haul, even if there's a slight increase to that, it may be beneficial to look at that aspect. The three used ones did not appear to be that type.
It's gonna be
Just regular carburation, but for $5,000 versus 10 and 15, the price is good. We may have to trailer it back or pay to have it trailered, whatever, but those would be good things.
Do you think the grant would let us buy a used piece?
I don't know, that's the question I have. I don't have, I hope in that drawer out here, if I look at it tomorrow, there is a copy of the original application for the grant. And to see what the terminology is. And the worst that could happen is if it's allowable, we buy it, build in the cost of it, and we're still giving the money back.
Yeah.
You know, we're not using it,
Yeah, we're not using the whole grant.
and we save the town money.
So how much is the grant?
The grant, the grant is for 80% of $7,600, I think, it was $76 or $7,800.
$5,000.
So they were, yeah.
The
And we
amount
were
we're
gonna
gonna
pay like
get
$1,800,
is, I think Guy brought it up at the meeting we had last week, $6,700.
$6,700.
Right,
$6,700.
right, and the total with our mattress like 87.
Oh, okay.
So I have a suggestion, we've only got 90 days to go, we gotta have this thing here. The way the economy is, some things aren't being made when they should be made, okay? So we may even have a waiting time. I looked at our purchase policy this afternoon, and it said that for anything between 1,000 and 2,500, we prefer to get two bids. But in both the 7,000 and up and the 1,000 to 7,500 category, this select board has the authority to authorize that we solicit specific vendors. In this case, there's the only 4 we're gonna have. And I checked each one, you can make an inquiry of what they are willing to sell that piece of equipment for over the internet. So that maybe we have those 4 for the next meeting and have some feedback about the grant. And that next meeting, the next day, you should be able to get out there and order. So we're not playing with the end of and losing the grant.
Okay,
Just a thought, because we're sitting here doing nothing.
yeah, no, that sounds good, that sounds like a good plan.
Excellent, thank you, Stan, for
You're
taking the
welcome.
time and looking at
That's
it.
good.
I did email pictures of the equipment to everybody, so they all have to
That's
see it.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Now, I want to add one more thing if I can. There were 2 or 3 other manufacturers of leaf blowers. None of them are like the one we looked at, made by Buffalo Turbine.
Right,
They are all another style. They don't have the options that makes the one we looked at really appealing.
yes.
That doesn't have that funnel that goes out. All it has is this big circular thing, and it has an opening at the bottom where the air comes out. No, nothing,
No moving.
no attachment, no
Nothing to
other
guide.
to guide where the air goes. So it almost says to me that what we looked at is the cream puff of the industry for that thing.
Yeah, he made it sound nice there, what he told us about it. Okay, the only other things that I had on here was, and I don't know if we wanna answer this tonight or at the next meeting but, knowing that we're gonna have to do culvert and ditch work this summer, can I call and reserve the,
That was-
to be
The what, the wheel excavator?
for a month?
Hold your thought. Can we re-entertain that in the building report? Well, I can just respond to it now.
Okay, because we're talking about summer equipment
Okay,
needs
all right,
and,
all right, all right.
yes, okay.
I think we should, I like your idea. The leasing of the wheeled excavator with option to buy. I think considering the amount of money that we have right, no, it's not used by ARPA money. It's the money that we use for summer rentals in the road fund. If we noted $10,000 to $20,000 of that money and put that towards a wheeled excavator.
Mark, did you ever get a response about do they do things if you rent?
Lease to own?
Lease to own?
I just called quick to find out how many years they finance. And he didn't call it a lease, they call it financing. And they do a 72-month finance on
6 years.
Maybe there's a lease somehow in there, but they were talking about strictly 72 months finance.
Okay, if that's all we can do, we can't do your approach, basically. And we're talking a buy situation. I think this is part of my now list, because I think we should keep our commitment to our road foreman and try to get him a wheeled excavator, one way, shape, or form. And given that we're flushed with a lot of money, we don't need to blow all our money on that, but given that we have so much in our road fund for our purchase policy during the summer, that we can afford this, we can afford it now, and this man needs equipment. The blower, the wheeled excavator, and the attachments, don't mean to play, I'm sorry about that. With respect to the grass, it was noted somewhere in these notes, that's now up to $4,500 a pop. That's $9,000 for cutting the grass for 2 weeks. $9,000 towards a loan in 1 year. Oh, multiply, he said 6 years, that's $54,000. That's almost half the price of a brand new piece of equipment the last time we looked. I believe it was around 120. So what I'm getting is, in my mind, is that we should try to fast forward this, especially in light that the Federal Reserve is gonna meet again next month and raise interest rates another half point. So I would think it would be to our benefit to give Mark the authority to start.
I am.
Start hunting for a couple of choices and bring it back to the board so we can discuss possible option to buy.
I'm concerned that it's gonna take several meetings and it's not gonna get done as expeditiously as you would like, unless someone from the select board spearheads this. Like when Guy was the road commissioner and he did that presentation and did all that legwork
Okay.
for previous years that,
I think you have your man. He's sitting right over in the corner. He's not a select board member, but I think he should be the ultimate education for us to choose. He knows the equipment. We don't know the equipment. The only thing we really need to know is that he's satisfied that the equipment's gonna work for him and that we're satisfied that we can afford it. I think we should put the 1 and 1 to 2 together and basically we should I don't mean this a bad way, Mark, let that dog run and go out and see what he can get. And let us move quickly. Start bogging down the committees, okay, just a minute, Guy, bogging down the committees and waiting weeks and everything. I don't think that's a good idea. Guy, you have a comment?
I just wanted to reiterate what the deal was when we did this a few years ago. The select board has the authority to borrow money from the state treasurer for equipment for a term of not more than 5 years.
Okay.
The fee was, the interest rates were 2%. And it was a real good deal. You have 2 options, 2 times a year to apply for it. And the biggest problem, I think, maybe, I don't know if mistake is the correct word, but if the select board had acted then and didn't bring it to the town meeting, I think it would have passed. And the bottom line is that the select board has the authority to spend that money.
Okay, but it's saying that. If I remember right, it's 2 times a year that we can apply for that loan, right? Is it up for this quarter yet, or this?
I think there's one in the spring and one in the, I don't remember the dates. I'd have to go look in my book, but.
Okay.
What are you talking about?
Pardon me?
Which one are you bringing?
I'm talking about if we,
the 2.8%
it's
loan.
2.8%.
2%, and the bottom line is you can They were very advantageous. It was the best deal that we had. The bottom line is that you have to act quickly. You have to find a piece of equipment, say, this is what I want, and go. I mean,
But can we do it now?
I have to look at my dates, to be honest with you.
But
we give-
I'm sorry, this whole topic isn't on the agenda for tonight.
Yeah,
You're
we're
right.
buying the
You
equipment,
know.
it's not on the agenda.
Okay, well,
And we don't have to
Okay.
get it
We're
in
not
30
saying,
days.
we're not saying binding. What we're saying is giving him the opportunity to look for the stuff.
We
and
have,
report back.
he's done it 5 or 6 times for us, and he's come to us with the equipment, and then it's gone in 2 weeks.
So what's your suggestion?
So my suggestion is, Mark, yes, I would secure the equipment for the summer,
For a month.
for your month, talk to those people.
so we-
What we need to get the mowing done, and we need to get the excavator. If they have some program, that would be
There
ideal.
we go.
If not, we need to still
I'm
look
sure-
beyond the summer. But
Most of those
we have to get the
companies-
summer locked in one way or another.
Most of those companies, when you lease from them for a month, if you wind up buying from them, they turn that money in the lease toward the
Yeah.
purchase price, so.
That was the question I did ask, the, I think it was 70% of your rental fee would go.
70% of the rental fees.
Right,
Okay,
all right, so
So
That's political.
basically, I guess what I was asking was, knowing that it seems like these machines are
turning over.
getting harder to come by because of the lack of machines around, and a lot of these towns are catching on and they're buying them up. The guy, when I talked with him, he said, you were on my list to call. He said, I sold several right off recently, and I've got 3 left. And that's why I was thinking if we're gonna rent one, we should.
So he rents and locks in and he's happy with it, like that one last year, oh, that's a beauty. Then we can work it forward as far as buying it. But you're right in the respect, I'm poking at you, that we need to lock in for the summer because he needs equipment.
right, and it's 2 different machines, unfortunately.
Unfortunately, the mower
Mower.
will be a separate machine, and it would be nice if we could get the mower to put on that, because that would save
Yeah.
a lot of
Well,
money.
this makes
Now,
sense.
knowing that we're gonna rent the equipment to do this work, we are getting grant money back for some of the work, so it's
I
a
would do it
savings.
longer than 4 weeks, if we're gonna try to get all those culverts in.
Well, 2 months would be extremely helpful, but, you know, we could maybe start with 1 month and then, you know, maybe partway through, if we come to some other decisions, then we could call him, this guy, the sales representative from Alta would be willing to come and sit with the board or
There we go.
whoever to answer any questions about.
Now, the mower is a simple machine at 4,500 a week. Is that what it was?
That's correct, yeah. So.
How much does it
So
cost to buy?
basically, we were gonna do a week in the early summer, and
Right.
a week,
Well, how much does it cost to buy?
they're like 125.
No, I'm talking about just the mower attachment.
Oh, just the more attachment to run on the wheel excavator? Guy, do you recall when we?
I
said-
think it was $30,000, $30,000 for the over the rail mower attachment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay, we gotta talk about that in the office.
Okay, all right,
Okay.
Mark, I think the select board is in agreement, we need to secure at least a month. Talk to the vendor and say your select board is looking at longer or
Permanent.
permanent, or, you know,
yeah. I will
and
do
just
that.
don't just get the call or,
At least we better foot in the door to rent,
yes, we need to get the summer
to
plan.
accomplish some of our segments of road and shoulder replacement. And my next question then was the same, knowing that we are replacing worn out culverts and bringing them up to standards, can I place an order for culverts with the amount of money the town budgeted for culverts?
Didn't we just spend a whole bunch of money to put culverts? Didn't we buy a whole bunch of culverts that we have in the inventory?
We have some inventory.
We bought 15 last summer.
Yeah.
And we put in, half of them went to the storm. Let me see, some of them went into the storm damaged areas and others were where they had to go for replacements because they were bad.
So some of the
Some-
inventory was
some-
used.
And some of them were in the grant. Like Parker Road culverts were in the grant. We ended up ordering a special culvert for up on Putney Mountain. And that fell under the FEMA, so that one will get reimbursed from FEMA. And the next one down is also needed to be replaced. And, I think that one might fall under a new grant.
All right, I'm just a little cautious about money because we haven't received anything from FEMA yet. And we've spent $80,000 more than we've taken in. So that's
If we do need to, we can, we're not gonna be
I know
in a
that
situation that we're illegal anyway.
the price is doubled on
Yeah.
culverts.
Right.
And the availability, I don't know if it's
Yeah.
better this year, but last year we were 8-9 weeks out on ordering culverts. And that's the only reason I brought up the topic up tonight was
So, yeah,
Yes.
the sooner we can place an order, maybe they'll be here at the time.
That you need it.
Is here.
all right, and you said 2023 and 2025, we have to have all this road segments done, so that's what we're gonna need. Stan?
So when you're thinking of bringing this issue up tonight, I assume that you're looking at what you have for a goal to accomplish in terms of numbers to replace. And you've looked at numbers, we have an inventory at the shed. What number are you looking at? And have you looked at the size you're gonna need and priced them out so that you have a number you can offer?
I've talked with our chief and we do have a budget number for culverts each year. I'm not sure what that number is.
I didn't bring my book with me.
And the storm and the replacement of culverts, is that gonna increase or decrease the number that you're gonna come up with in the ultimate expense or anticipated expense?
I'm not sure if I got your question, but.
Or just answer anything you think I
that
asked, and that'll be good to play.
we're always gonna need to upgrade the rusted out culverts. We plan to do at least a minimum 5 sites a year.
Okay.
And to bring them up to standards, and it's just like our culvert inventory map. There's always, like this year, when spring got here, one on Parker Road that has not been replaced is a hole in the road. And so that one is next on site. One at the top of Whitney Hill completely froze up during the winter. It's an undersized metal. And the frost has lifted it so the water couldn't go through it fully. And it froze and went over the road through the winter months. So that one's on the site to be replaced. Then Archie Clark did a job the other day, and he said Mark Pickering was on site from V-Trans, and Mark encouraged him, and this is after our meeting with Megan, he encouraged us to apply for a structure grant. The state now has a new structure grant, certain amount of monies, certain qualifications for class 2-3 roads, and Archie, we talked about which site we thought would benefit this year if we got it. You may not get it. It depends on how many apply and how much money is left available. And we were thinking out Ellen Ware Road, where I talked about a sinkhole in the road out by Mr. Horton's. We thought that might be a good one to be replaced with a larger plastic culvert. And it would be 3 feet or under 30 inches.
You're talking about that point just before Jean's house.
Yeah, that corner. And so that grant would cover that one. So knowing that the culverts will never go to waste, if we can afford them, it's just a matter of when the time is right to fit them in. So
Yes.
knowing I could use them all up this summer, or we could always keep a few for emergencies, but I understand keeping some money, you know.
Yeah, I guess I'm sitting here and I just, excuse my stupidity, I just don't know how many you're looking for and roughly what they're gonna cost. I guess sitting as a citizen listening, perhaps I might have a question.
In past years, we knew what the budget was and we ordered that amount of culverts and then we used them all up.
Right.
And the next year we spent that budget money again and used them all up.
Mhm.
And then because of the flood, last year we didn't get to install all of the inventory that we had. So we do have, I think, 6 or 7 single culverts there. And a lot of sites take 2 or sometimes 3.
Just 'cause of the law.
Mhm.
It all depends on the roadway.
So how many are you gonna order?
I was gonna look at the budget and
And
Yeah. I know that we need at least 2 3-footers to go on Bucky Mountain. And if we're gonna do the one Archie and I talked about on Ellenware, those could be anywhere from 2 foot to 3 foot. It probably should have a hydraulic study done first, but right now, the existing is a stone culvert. And it's got a piece of metal stuffed up into it.
Oh, I know exactly which one you're
It's
talking
like
about,
2
yeah.
foot. So, so there's a, and then I got the 18-inch one is going on, Whitney Hill, that'll probably take 2. The one on Parker Road could possibly take 2. I've got 5 at the top of Putney Mountain that need upgrading, they're metal and rusted.
Wow,
So they go quickly.
Guess so.
And you never know when one's gonna, you know,
collapse.
separate, collapse, we had a couple on the Athens Road that a hole appeared in the spring and we had to put.
Do we have a lot left that are steel?
We do have quite a few left.
So it sounds like there's 12, not knowing what your inventory is like, and you're basically looking for permission from us for you to check with
Yeah.
the guy and find out how many we can afford
And
and
even
buy it.
if I could do like half an order, half that budget, just so we have them.
Because you already have the 7 or whatever sitting.
Yes, yep.
I have no problem as long as the
Anytime-
money's there.
Anytime that we're doing a narrow section of road and I cut one in half, I save them there for the next time that half of one or a quarter of one or 2/3 of one always comes in handy on the next site, so.
So we need a vote for that. And then-
We don't need a vote for
Okay.
buying road, that's normal maintenance work
Okay.
and supplies, so.
Also knowing that all these other towns are doing the same thing.
And everybody's buying it
They're
up.
gonna be upgrading their rusted out culverts and stone lining their ditches to meet
The same,
the
Same color.
requirement, so.
So we need to get them ordered so we're in line.
Like everything else, the price has gone up and the availability is.
Going down. Supply and demand, price goes up, this is awesome.
so how should we close this discussion up? Should we ask Mark to check with Guy as far as what's left in the, and then order which 50% or 60% of what the budget is at this time?
That sounds good.
Is that okay? All right, so work with Guy, and then if you wanted to shoot me a text, I'll email the select board what you all have to, what you're ordering, so that we know that what we're expending. The other thing I wanted to ask you is Archie completing the structures grant for, you mentioned, is Archie going to be doing that, or does he expect somebody else to do this?
He was gonna email Stan and.
I wanna make sure everybody's coordinated, that we
Yeah,
know what
and this has to
everybody's
be,
doing.
the application has to be in by the 15th of April.
I know,
So-
yes.
And this is something I didn't know about when Megan was here, and I do have this letter right here
That's only a week.
that I'd like
This.
board to look at. This is a structured grant, and I'm not sure, I don't believe it's talking about the same one that Archie did,
No,
because this
May
is bridge structures, 20 feet and longer in our town, and I really don't see us getting, monies for any of those. It lists the 2, and it calls them in good shape, one down here, actually one right here outside the office. And the next one is down near Papoose Lane. And, you know, they wanted to apply.
These grants, are they matching grants or do we have to, does the town,
I think
Have to-
coming from the state, these are definitely
This came back,
the match.
okay,
I don't know if it's 80-20 or
yeah.
what that match is, but
Can I make a copy?
you sure can. I was in hopes that,
Is that the letter from the Wyndham Regional?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please submit by May 9th.
Yeah.
yeah,
I will all say, I'll be glad to support the highway department in any way possible. If
okay.
there's a deadline, I'll do my best to get it there and let you know and Archie. As long as I'm aware of it and I get the paperwork in time and not.
Yeah, I mean, stuff like this, you know, Bruce said it earlier, you read through it once and then you start over and read it.
Yeah.
And for most people, the second time you might get it, it's gonna take me 3 or 4.
I tell you,
I'll
So
join
I
you.
appreciate, you guys' input on that stuff.
I do want to make note that I found the Vermont Municipal Equipment Show and Field Day in Barry, Vermont will be held on my birthday, May 11th. And so it's a registration deadline of April 15th, if you're interested in registering to go up there and see that. Would you like this, Mark? In case you're
I'll take
interested?
a look at that, see what it's,
I've been authorized to behalf of the people putting it on to advise you that your birthday cake will be good.
Oh, good. Just wanna let you know.
I forgot. I forgot.
Okay, anything else, though?
Yeah,
you know,
Culvert and Hall Hill Road.
I just wanted to keep it short, but I have a question on the RFP for paving and,
Which one?
and, not the FEMA stuff, but out by the river.
Yep,
And I got thinking about it today and I was gonna call Jeff Marston, the guy that did the estimating from Bases on our paving. And, we mentioned grinding down a layer of the rough pavement out by the river and then adding, a layer of new pavement 2.5 inches.
Are you talking about, excuse me, I flew my mouth, over near Dutton's?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that whole strip along the
Yeah,
river
yeah.
there and around the corner by now,
Mhm.
it was 1,575 feet. Now we talked about getting an RFP for grinding it. And then,
yeah.
and then a separate bid for the paving. And I have big feelings about the grinding. I feel like you're gonna grind it, this is my personal opinion. If you're grinding down 2.5 inches and you've got all these cracks there, you're not completely getting rid of all the cracks. So I've noticed on all our paving that's taken place over the years, only 1 year goes by and those old cracks under the surface open up the new pavement. And I guess it's the frost heaving and the pressure. So I'm wondering, are we wasting money by grinding it and taking it away because we're just paving over the lower cracks underneath?
So it says here, the area shall be milled to a depth of 1.5 inches and then repaved 2 inches thick.
Right.
So it's only a 1/2 inch higher than it was before.
Which saves the town a little money because you don't have to fill the shoulders back up.
Ah.
Shoulder gravel.
Okay,
So that is one benefit to doing it that way.
so when you say grinding, it's milling, is that?
Right,
is that what-
milling it like we did the other end of Hill Road
So you're asking if we should eliminate the milling procedure?
and go thicker on the pavement. The money we would have spent in grinding would have paid it. And I wanted to ask the representative his opinion, how he feels on.
Okay.
So if I can call that tomorrow and get professional opinion. I felt like if you could grind it and leave that old material in place. Leave it there and then they reshape it and roll it and tack it. And then pave on top of it. You're adding a little bit of height, but you're not right on the crack. You've got a little cushy layer that's not, and I don't know if
Cause you can't get rid of the crack without completely excavating.
That's my feeling, you know,
That's what Joe Dutton was talking about several years ago.
yeah.
That was a major
Yeah, I
event.
mean, I don't know the
Snare
average
River.
lifespan of paving. So I just wanted to bring that up.
All right, go ahead, Stan.
Yeah, when my wife came up Breastsburg Road for a walk from my house here to the town office to say hello to Guy when he was here last Saturday and used the bathroom, of course. And I noticed that the cracks from where the recycle bin is, or to the town office are filled with this material,
Right.
which has apparently done a pretty decent job of
Oh,
keeping
yeah.
it
Yeah,
from splitting.
right.
There's a need for more to be done now because there's some that cracked and extended from the original one. But it's done a great job of keeping the old road. Is that a process that can be used once they take off that layer to fill in the crack? And then just fill back over and it won't go down into a crack that isn't there anymore?
Yeah, I haven't heard of it ever being done that way, maybe they do, but I think it's more for on top when
Okay,
you can't do more than a 3/4 inch
Depth.
gap.
Ah, okay.
okay.
But if you can do anything minus 3/4 inch gap, it seals the, keeps the water from going through and then freezing. Under anything that gets through freezes and that's where you get your breaks and buckles, so.
So the process that you just described, the modified one, will that eliminate the cracks or reduce the amount of cracks underneath?
I feel like it would, but that's just, I'm not a professional with the paving, so I wanted to ask,
Well, to answer Dot's question about how I would feel about it or how we feel about it, if that's doable, I would be in favor of that.
okay.
We'd have to rewrite the RFP and we wouldn't be able to approve it tonight, but we could approve it in 2 weeks to go out immediately.
Well, do you wanna, were you gonna mail that out?
Well,
Tomorrow, or
we have to come up with the correct wording, and
Yeah.
if you're gonna check with your,
I'll call him tomorrow, I should be able to find
Okay.
that out tomorrow.
all right, and then we can,
If it sounds like my idea means anything, I'll get right to you immediately.
It may not be possible,
Right, yeah, I mean,
may not be a thing that pavers do.
no, they do this, back in the mid-80s, Whitcomb paving did Route 30 right through the town of Jamaica, right up the mountain, Fonda. And I know somebody that personally worked here, and what they did was they dumped gravel on top of the old pavement. And they had this machine that came in and rototilled the new gravel with the pavement. They did like a 10-inch grind. Wow. Then they rolled it out, shaped it with the grader, rolled it with the rolling
The heavy-
machine, and then they paved 2 layers on top.
Wow.
And at the same time, they replaced all the culverts the whole way.
Who is this?
all right, in the trying to get things to move on a little bit, I'm gonna suggest that you make your phone call contacts and let us know what it is. We'll have to approve
Yeah, I'll-
this bid
I'll
at the
let you
next
know
meeting now,
tomorrow. Yeah,
because we won't be able to vote without having the correct words for the request for proposal for the milling of the section by the 1675-foot section. So I'm gonna table this RFP at this time, is that okay with you?
Yeah.
All right, so then we have the second RFP, which is the RFP that deals with the Putney Mountain washout. And as you know, the damage, I'll pass this around, those are the damage at the bridge by Amadon's
yeah.
corner. And then up where we extended the pavement and it got washed out. So that bid, it says the town of Brookline is requesting bids for the blacktop repairs on Putney Mountain Road caused by the July, and I think I noted to Stan that we'd have to change this to say the July 29-30 storm. Flooding, the damaged areas which include Grassy Brook Bridge and the intersection of Putney Mountain and Grassy Brook Roads, this area is 8 by 25, shall be cold planed to a depth of 2 inches and then repaved. That's the same thing though.
Yeah, that would be new,
Okay,
because the pavement is almost completely gone.
yes,
they're just gonna remove the
What?
jagged
Step,
to
okay,
to a certain place, and then it'll be all new.
Okay.
Nothing underneath but a new base of gravel and then 2 layers of pavement.
Okay. And then it says at the washout areas approximately 1 mile up on Putney Mountain Road, these areas would include a road edge of 4 inches with a width and 260 feet in length. The existing blacktop shall be saw cut, removed, and properly disposed of, excavated down to a depth of 4 inches, compacted, and replaced with 4 inches of new blacktop, 2.5 inch base, and a 1.5 inch top. The other area is to be removed and properly disposed of approximately 10 by 80 of existing blacktop, and then to be regraded by the town to proper elevation. Area to be compacted and then placed 2.5 inches of base and 1.5 of top blacktop. Any questions about the scope of work should contact you. Contractor to be responsible for traffic control and maintaining 1 lane of traffic. The project must be completed by September 1st, 2022. Please state anticipated start date, current proof of workman's compensation and liability. We don't have to have them do the liability insurance, does not have to be included with the bid, I have found out, because it means nothing when they include it with the bid. When someone gets a bid, then they have to contact their insurance company to put the town in a
As a lost payee.
as a lost payee,
Yeah.
but they won't put the town as a lost payee if they don't have a bid. So we don't no longer have to say, will be general liability will be required, but does not have to be sent in with the bid, because again, the
That makes
lost
a lot of
payee stuff. Okay, the town reserves the right to reject any and all bids and accept the bid most favorable to the town. The bids are due April 20th at 6 p.m. To be opened at a regular select board meeting. We have to add that to it as well. But is that okay with you, that wording? We just have to do a couple of changes, a date change.
Sure.
And my other question is to the select board, maybe we won't change it at this time, but why do we not accept fax or email bids?
Because back in 1920, we didn't. I think we had to change it, so we do.
Right?
As
Is
long
there any
as,
reason
as
why
long
we-
as they're received before
Yeah,
the
The
meeting.
time,
I don't
Yeah.
know what-
What's your opinion?
Well, the fax is fine. The email leaves a little bit to be considered because emails, different servers are slower than others. Faxes are, as a rule, pretty well. That's reliable.
at least one step, change the fax, can be faxed to such and such a number, is that okay with the
Have a
select?
fax?
Yeah, and I will also call VLCT to see if there is some reason why that, if it's a signature something or whatever.
Good idea.
I'll just, if you would write that down, Gwen, I'll call VLCT and see if we can fax, email, or whatever it is. And
I can understand even skipping the email, but faxing, people should be able to fax it at least electronically in this day and age. I just know that the painter then spent $30 to express mail something to us for his bid, because he
Really?
couldn't email it or fax it, he thought he.
there may be some reason, but I'll find out. Okay.
Even if, when we do letters, potential samples of documents, I think in one case, when David and I were going back and forth, he had put in a security password on the document. And he was the creator of it. But if VLCT
Yeah, it was another layer.
allowed emailing of it with the security code or security name being phoned into the recipient, cover VLCT's guidelines in terms of security, whatever.
Yeah,
Because the only person that's gonna open it is the one that can make or change the number to the security code.
I'll find out from,
That-
Just a thought.
That's probably it, because it's specified as a sealed bid, so maybe they figured one over the internet.
yeah, there may be a valid reason, like Mark is just saying.
And but I'm gonna move on to get this,
An email, everybody can read an email, everybody can read a fax, so there may be a reason for it, but I'm gonna find out tomorrow and then I'll report back to you folks.
all right, perfect, thanks, Guy,
Yeah.
that'd be great, much appreciated. All right, so, I'm going to make a motion that we approve the request for proposal with some minor editing, including the date of the flood, and that the bids will be opened at a regular select board meeting on April 20th. Is that enough time? That was the other thing. Do people have enough time to get their bid to us? Should we say May 4th?
I would do May 4th because right now everybody is so wicked busy.
Yeah.
Everybody's running around in spring, you know,
No
And
one
with the
wanna
mail
know.
being like it is.
Right, I mean, they can, get it to us by April 30th and we can review it at the May 4th meeting.
yeah.
So,
We have them in by May.
yes. All right, I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the request for proposal with minor editing for the date. And we will review whether it can be faxed or emailed. And that the bids should be received by town by April 30th. To be opened by May 4th. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the RFP for this, this is the FEMA work, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? I will send a copy to Mel too when I.
And I will also let you know tomorrow what the response is
Thank
from
you.
the
Yes, sir.
LCT.
Okay, so it's $6,000.
It's the total budgeted amount.
Yes. So I'm guessing if you could try to stay around 4,000,
Yeah.
something like that,
Or just
and
to
then,
make sure we have,
right, if you have to go 4,500, whatever.
and then if things are going good, we'll talk it over and
Okay,
using the.
right. Okay, so this has to be. All right, very good. I'm gonna try to move on here.
That, excuse me, that $4,000, is that going for the 22-23 budget or the 2021 budget?
$6,000 is budgeted. Oh, that's for next year's.
Yeah,
So 4,500 was.
What we have budgeted for, so maybe you wanna look at
So,
35, 3,035, yeah,
Yeah.
thank you.
I'll try to stay 2,000, thereabout.
Which means you can get like 3 culverts.
Yeah,
yeah, that's,
Yeah.
but that's the way things are going, that might be our summer. If we work on Bennett Road or.
yeah.
There's a lot to do this summer, so,
Okay,
but I just didn't wanna get caught short.
all right, thanks for, yep. All right, so we're back to this, review it, RFP. The culvert on Holland Hill Road, just, the culvert on Holland Hill Road, I have some pictures of it when we went there. This is Holland Hill, here's the culvert that's leaf filled. It drains down into here is the input hole, as you can see, a lot of debris builds up into the input hole. It goes under the road and then it comes out on the other side. And the problem with this culvert, as you can see, is that they have to clean out all of this debris that gets pushed through the culvert. And you can see how much debris by comparing it to the size of Mark standing next to it. When Mark and I went up there, he felt that this culvert would work better if it were started higher on the mountain and have a straighter angle to the outlet side, correct?
Right, yeah.
Now, according to notes, did Megan or somebody recommend that we check with Putney to see if they will do that repair?
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Jeff Newton, on the phone call, he was up on the mountain speaking with Putney's town road supervisor, and they have a lot of grant work to do, as well as flood repair to do in that same road, Holland Hill Road. A lot of it was destroyed and put back, so they're finishing up a lot of work up there on Holland Hill. And as some of that work, it's gonna be stone line ditches and upgrading culverts. And so they're gonna have all their machinery within half a mile to the area. So Jeff thought maybe it might benefit us to coordinate with Putney to see if they could fit the work in while they were up there.
And how does that work? with payment of its cost to do that project?
Other years that we had a similar situation, we paid for all the supplies and materials. And they charged us labor. I don't know if Guy remembers that.
Yep.
Okay.
Gary Excavating did some work in that area for us, and that's how it was.
Before we develop a formal request to the Putney Select Board or vote for this possibility, could you reach out and talk to them? Do you know them well enough to call
I
them?
do know him through the meetings.
Yeah.
Jeff is planning to meet with us
Oh.
at some point, and so he's gonna talk about this as a potential grant, one of our grants. And if so, we'll need to come up with estimates for
Okay,
everything.
okay,
And if Putney's in agreement to do the work after we come up with the amounts, maybe we can work that deal with them.
all right, so Jeff needs to do some work with us to come up with estimates and before we approach.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
if Stan wants to, help me out with that, and with the application to get the numbers. And probably Archie would be on that as well, and
Okay,
Rod and Guy, but, yeah, so I was assuming that could be one of the grant applications.
okay.
It does fall under a segment of high priority, that needs to be done, so.
All right, just want to make point, because we're gonna move on, I know the meeting's gonna run a little long here, but I just want to make point that I have some information from Jeff Nugent about towns sharing equipment and examples of agreements, memorandums of understanding between towns that may collaborate on buying equipment, for example, hydro-seeder programs and that. So again, as we talk about equipment, sometimes we can share services
Yeah,
occasionally.
Mike Fontaine from town of Newfane mentioned that they were gonna be sharing a hydro seeder with the town of Dover.
Yeah.
Right, and so they've already have some memorandum of agreements that are available for review. This is Lamoille County, but they talk about it a little bit.
The town of Athens is also
They do
talked of it, sharing something down the road. And I know that in the past several years, Newfane has come over with their liquid chloride. Once we get our road in shape, if you call them, they'll come over, use their chloride, and then they bill us
Right,
for that. So that's a shared
shared service.
service. And, I was almost thinking too, the leaf blower, I don't know if they'd be up to it, but we could almost share with them, either them come over and do ours, or we rent it from them, but that's just.
Yeah, that's neither here nor there. Right now,
Yeah.
we have the grant, if we can buy it, we'll buy something for us.
Okay.
Is there anything else, Mark, otherwise we're gonna move on to the
No.
highway grant section?
No, go ahead.
All right, thanks. Sand salt shed update discussion, and I do wanna point out, if you want these, I have copies of the advertising invoices and the classified ads that were run for your sand shed stuff.
Great, I would very much appreciate the I have the one from Rutland that you sent along,
Okay,
but the tear sheet for the former did not have a dollar amount on the copy that I've got. So if you have anything for that one, I'll then send it along to Margot along with the Rutland one. So she can include it in our grant cost, disbursements, et cetera, et cetera.
All right, you got the floor, Mr. Noga.
Okay, there's not much further to report, well, first one, we can use ARPA for our mulch. The state, V-Trans said no, Margot saw a copy of the email that came back from V-Trans, emailed Kate Buckley at VLCT. I'm sorry?
Jean's a copy. And she can have that.
Okay. So I think within 24 hours, Kate Buckley had emailed back Margot and myself, the fellow from V-Trans that was involved in the transaction, who said you could not use the ARPA money. And they cited the specific federal guideline, et cetera, so we can use that, as you've heard or learned, which is a godsend for us at this point in time. Let's see, grant planning, we met with, well, you've already heard stuff about coming down the pike for one way or another, but 3 grants that we have right now are $188,000 grant from one division of V-Trans. We have a $109,600 grant that's a transitional grant from V-Trans, but a different department. So we're basically at this point waiting for, regarding the second grant for 1096, for it to work its way through V-Trans. It's apparently the V-Trans Municipal Highway, no, it's working its way through V-Trans because they have to formally amend the original grant for the $73,600, adding the $36,000, and it has to be done in a formal process with the grant. Chris Hunt of V-Trans is responsible for sending or requesting that amendment. It then is going to reach a young lady or a person by the name of Tricia Scribner, who will send a copy of the town, send a copy of the amendment to the town to DOT's attention. And that should be coming within the next 2 to 3 weeks. So we need to keep our mind open. And when they said send, I have no idea whether that's email or hard copy. So I will inquire about that and make myself a note so we know where and how to look for it. Okay. And then so that's the situation on that second grant. And I think in the minutes there was reference to a $36,000 grant. That was another grant that had been applied for separately from another source of grants from V-Trans. And when I was trying to sort out whether the increase in $36,000 in the second grant for the sand and salt shed, if that 36 was that exact increase, or whether the 36,000 was in fact a separate grant, my initial inquiry produced results and answers that didn't add up. And finally, someone from V-Trans who got a copy of what was going on between me and someone else saw it and said, oh, that was a separate grant for $36,000. It's not the $36,000 that was added to the second grant.
So it's $145,000.
So David, when he became aware of the upgrade from 73.6 to 109.6, he emailed me saying we probably don't need that additional $36,000, and we probably ought to take action to cancel it. So I put into place the action to cancel it. I looked at it, I agreed, it sounded like the thing to do. And so I asked them to cancel it, and they've done that. So there's not, that 36,000 increase was because there was just simply extra money. And V-Trans decided to increase many of the grants around the state, if not all of them, by adding additional money. Yes.
Why would we not accept grant money for this project?
Well,
Could have been a mistake I made, I don't know, I just thought that, I just didn't think it was.
the original grant was 235, then you added another 109. And then the 36.
Well, the grant itself was 188 for the first one, predicated on an expense of
Based on 235,
235.
80, okay. So the project itself was 235,000, that was the project.
Yeah.
And now they're adding another $109,000 grant money.
196, yeah.
Okay, and then there was a 36 on top of that.
Yep.
That we could have.
Yeah, that was asked for before we knew the 36 was being added on to the second grant.
Unfortunately, the two numbers are two $36,000 grants.
Yeah.
So we kept one and we canceled the other, but
Right.
we wouldn't have, right, yeah.
Well, we still have to match it by 20%. Each one of these grants, we're still on the hook for 20%.
We have this offer substitution, you know, at the top.
Well, so are you indicating that you'd rather have me go back and reinitiate it if I can?
Well, I don't know, I just, it's, we don't know how much the bids are gonna come back and whether we can afford the project even with all this grant money, who knows? So
I guess I'm just trying to determine what the final number is.
We don't
We don't
know
know.
until they put out the bid to.
No, what we have in the hopper for the bid, I'm sorry, for the grant itself. So we had 188, then 109, I'm sorry, yeah, 188,
$297,600.
$188.
$297,600.
That's counting 109 and 36.
No,
It's counting
it's 109
and 188.
Okay, all right, so that's
So we have 297,000. If the
297,000, of which we have to match 20%.
and we have to pay for anything above that if the bids come in for, let's say the.
Right, if the bid comes in higher.
we're not paying 20% of 297, we're paying 20% of the total anticipated cost of roughly 373,000. So there's a significant amount of money that needs to come up with. We need to come up with somewhere around $73,000.
Yeah, $80,000.
Yeah.
It's all said and done.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I don't think that's a real good sell for the town, but that's just my opinion.
Let's not worry about it now.
All right, yeah, we
Good
can't.
ones that,
We can't. All right, go ahead, Stan.
So that's where we are on that. So I guess the question is, I have no problem saying I made a mistake and we want $36,000 more in grants, if you would like me to do that.
If we got a grant, see if they will, if we can cut off another $36,000 off of what we're gonna have to owe. If we don't use the grant, we give it back, but,
That's true.
right? If we decide not to go, we just
Give it back.
give it back, we don't accept it.
Was one of those grants like an inflation cost to help with inflation?
Maybe.
Well,
I almost think
not to that
Dave talking something like that.
there was
We got one.
There was a 10% inflation that was built in for the overall anticipated cost, because we anticipated costs rising.
Right.
And the reason that we went for the additional 36 was because when David added the 93.7 or 73.6 and the 188, the number of shortfall was significant, and he felt that the 36,000 would get us to a level where we'd be somewhat comfortable. So lo and behold, we get this letter out of the blue saying your grant has been increased by $36,000 from this number to 109.6. And it was at that point that I had no idea how many grants we had at the time.
Right.
But I got a communication because they sent it to David not knowing that there was a change.
Right.
And his comment to me was, we ought to cancel that because we now have the 36,000 that I went and got for a grant for before. We don't need it. But I didn't think I had enough, I guess, to say, well, we could probably use as many grants as we could get. So I did get notice about 2.5, 3 weeks ago that they did in fact cancel it, which means his money is there. And if it's not been spent or provided elsewhere, I have no problem saying I goofed, and the board has asked me to see if that's still available.
Yeah, it's been confusing all along.
It's very
There's been
confusing.
a lot of people that stepped down and no one stepped up.
Yeah, but as I'm sitting here saying, you fool, why didn't you ask the board what they wanted to do with it rather than just go ahead and do something? So
Yeah.
I feel terrible that I did that, and so I'm willing to do anything I can to fix it,
And did we hear that Newfane is, they haven't put their bid out yet, or did they put their?
Nope, they have not, because they're further behind than we are.
Okay,
So,
I just wondered if there was information there yet to put together.
let's see. All right, the RFP response and bids for the on-site inspector is due tomorrow to Marga. And I think Margot
It's the
indicated,
11th, April 11th or 2.
well, the copy that I looked at this afternoon, unless the date's been changed, that she sent to us originally, and maybe she has changed it, if it is the 11th. The document that I said I read this afternoon indicated on that, maybe a week older, indicated that the actual award would be made in 6 weeks from the receipt of the bid. So,
Okay, I'm thinking maybe it's the inspector, the inspector bid is due the 11th, never mind.
well, that's the one I'm talking about. The bid is due, the document I looked at. I got too many directories. I've got a directory, a file here, and one of these that has a copy of the RFP. It may not be the most recent RFP.
Yeah.
And it's because we didn't do it on a Monday, I took the weekend and Monday, to actually read all the documents, so I understood them and know what questions to even ask. It might be that she did in fact delay it 3 days till the 11th. I don't know, I can check the most recent one.
I think that's what I put on my calendar.
Okay, then you're probably right. Okay. So, let's see, on the list here, things, what else? There is a process whereby Jeff Nugent has advised us that many of that grants that are being passed through Wyndham Regional is backing out of follow-up on some of these. They're gonna offer general guidance. And instead of Wyndham Regional signing off on it, telling us that it's okay, they're gonna expect that the town now does that. So there's a little bit of a change there. I was doing a number of things today, and unfortunately, I did not get to that one before I had
I
to
can
come
understand.
down. So that's the scenario on that. So there is a change, and I wish I could summarize it for you right now at 8:45. But I actually can't remember from the top of my head. So we go down to number 4 here, discussion about available free money up to $10,000 in equipment. This was taken from the VLCT passive meeting earlier this week. I think it was Monday or Tuesday, and I was writing and so forth. And apparently the road supervisor for Newfane asked Jeff Nugent at WRC, Wyndham Regional Commission, if there is such a grant that he's aware of. So Jeff emailed me this morning and said, I heard you were talking about a $10,000 free money grant. And he said, could you tell me more about it? And I couldn't, because that's all I remembered was the context that was presented in the meeting. And I might interject, I'm gonna look tomorrow for the recording of that meeting and review it.
It's not this, is it?
No.
Okay, because that had $10,000 on it too, and I thought, you know.
It's actually in there under under another heading, and I did find it today. And it's an outdated policy. It states the dollar amount, I think, is 8,000. They apparently increased it, but the actual agreement or award documentation hasn't yet increased it to the $10,000 number. And it is not free. It's not string free. It is primarily for health and safety issues and equipment, not all highway equipment. Reflective vests, anything as a piece of equipment that would add to safety as an attachment. There are a number of things. I have it on my hard drive. I didn't print it out to bring it here today, but I will send it to her tomorrow. So there isn't that golden pot of $10,000 that I was hoping we'd have. So my apologies for that. I sent Jeff, I think, a copy of the agreement. I didn't send it to everybody else because we had enough going.
Was that through Wyndham Regional or was that through the insurance company?
No, it's through the passive. Passive has a program.
Right, and we talked about that years ago when the gentleman was here. And it was basically, as you said, it was more geared toward equipment and safety equipment versus not street equipment, if you know what I mean.
Right,
Like
correct.
reflectors and so forth.
Yeah, backup
Yeah.
cameras and
Yes,
all kinds of
exactly.
stuff like that. But
Right.
if you had a list,
Which would be good if it is available
yeah,
for road signage during emergency situations.
I didn't know it existed and I was all excited until I found out this morning that there's a little more to it, but it's money that's still available.
Yeah, well,
Okay. And lastly, number 5, so my apologies for getting excitement going about that. Number 5, the MRGP grant fee. When we had our meeting last week or.
Yeah, last Tuesday
Megan
or
Grant,
last
she
Tuesday.
mentioned that we were showing up on the delinquency list of the MRGP grant program because we hadn't paid our.
Well, it was
fee yet.
$400 for the application, then $250 every year, or $240 every year that we had to pay. But I don't think we ever got invoiced for it.
She
Ask
claimed-
her to invoice us
She
again.
claimed that the invoice was sent to our town offices in February of this year. I think vaguely recall seeing it, and I will go back in my emails to see if I can find it. And I can ask her to send a copy of what she sent out to us as well. But irrespective of my understanding that we are involved and have paid the original $400 fee, this is simply paying the annual fee of $200.
So we could, if we could get a copy of that and give it to our treasury and we could get that ready for the accounts payable
Okay.
next month, next meeting, that would be great because I hate to be delinquent for $200 when we miss out on grants, so.
Exactly.
But you said in February, what was the date that came, February?
She didn't provide us, if she did, I don't remember it. I do have notes from that day, but I don't have those right in front of me at the moment.
I'll see if I can find it by email search, but I didn't see it, okay.
Yeah, and it sounds like it came from someone of MRG.
It came by snail?
Well, you were there, I can't remember what she said.
Yeah, I thought it was mailed, and if it was mailed, anything could happen with the mail,
Yeah,
I don't recall seeing it, but it doesn't mean it didn't happen.
I'm thinking that I saw something about an annual feedback about that time, and just since it wasn't at that time
Okay.
directly involving me, I
We'll just have
didn't
to-
pay any
We'll have to
attention.
search for it and see if
But
it's something.
I'll do whatever I can to help everyone else to locate it. And if it means getting another copy from Megan, I will.
That would probably be the easiest way.
Yeah, and that's all I have to offer.
Okay, Mr. Tanza, you're up. Thank you, sir.
The town office has been extremely busy with dog licensing and so forth. We've now registered, I think, 96 dogs. And there's been a little bit of activity in some refinancing. The town has been busy. It's also tax season and many inquiries in regards to what people have paid for their taxes and how much they owe and so forth. So it's been busy. But we're on top of it and everything's good, so I gave you a copy of I gave you the last one on Saturday. Saturday, we were here until, I was here till 4 o'clock. Gwen left around 1 or 2, but we gave everybody the opportunity
We did.
to register their dogs, and I'm just hoping that the few that are left out there, maybe 20, will respond. And we didn't have a rabies clinic this year because of the scare of COVID, but the Humane Society has one every Friday, the first Friday of each month. And there are different places in town that you can find a place to have your dog vaccinated, so that should not be an excuse. We're hoping that people will just comply.
Do you know if these people moved or these homeowners or renters that the letters were returned?
Does it say there was
It
no
says,
receptacle, there was no mail
Unable
receptacle?
to forward, attempted not known, no mail receptacle, unable to forward, so.
Right, so that means it, he didn't have a mailbox out there, or, I'll check in our database,
Okay,
see
yeah.
what we can do.
Thanks.
And that's pretty much it, in town clerk land.
How about Treasury Land?
Treasury, we're doing well. Initially, we had a number of issues that had to be taken care of. We've pretty much finished that. I'm looking forward to going into just doing regular treasury work rather than, fixing up some things that had been pushed aside or not taken care of. But we're in good shape, and I think we will continue to get even better. Like I say, I'm more concerned with the FEMA money. That's a real concern, and I haven't heard from Mel. I don't know if you've heard from Mel, but the window of opportunity is starting to close. And I just don't want us to be in a rock and a hard place. In Newfane, Melissa is in conversation with Mel every week. So I don't understand what's holding us up.
We started before Newfane did. We started our meetings with Mel before Newfane started the meetings with Mel. We were in contact with Mel weekly when he was focusing on
Okay.
us, so they have a lot more roads issues than we did. But I'm gonna write to Mel anyway because of the RFP for the
Yeah.
FEMA repairs.
Okay. So that's my only question there. We've caught up with the bank recs, we've caught up with the end of the month reports. We're moving in the right direction, and we're in relatively good shape. Like I say, the biggest issue is that, we're a small town with limited resources, and the money that we've eaten up in FEMA is, has me concerned.
But we have on your list the annual financial TA 60. I need to sign this and have everybody else sign this.
Yes,
This is
that's the one
latest and greatest.
yep.
Okay, so this is I'm gonna sign, this is the annual financial plan for town highways, TA 60, which shows the class 1, 2, and 3 roads, the retreatment, bridges, winter maintenance, non-winter maintenance, construction and such. And it says, we, the legislative body of the municipality of Brookline, certify that funds raised by municipal taxes are equivalent to or greater than a sum of at least $300 per mile for each mile of class 1, 2, and 3 town highways in the municipality. So, based upon your recommendation, I am going to certify by signing, and then I will pass this around for others to sign. Thank you. And today's date is April 6th, 2022.
Did you happen to know how she got the number that she came up with? She was deducting certain things.
Right, she did percentages and so forth,
Yeah.
and based on our budget, and she had a regular formula that she uses.
Is this helpful, Stan, if you wanna see these pages? Because
Yes.
it has more good data on it.
Yes. Yeah. I'd like to have a copy of this for future reference, just for the hell of it. See how she did it? Excuse my French.
Oh, boy.
Oh, it's Polish, I'm sorry.
Fine.
As that form comes back, and we also have here modify the Brookline policy on roads and bridges to conform to state standards and select board sign a document, but I don't think we have it.
Let's see which one that is.
Modify the Brookline policy on roads and bridges to conform.
I believe, is that the one where we had to put in the?
This is just my,
Oh, okay.
yeah, I don't have the document.
We had one document where we didn't plug in the 6
Correct.
inches for the pavement and so forth, and I thought she was gonna forward that to us, but maybe she didn't.
So this is
No,
based
I-
upon the meeting that you had with them
Yes.
at the, okay.
Yeah, she needed two things. She needed the actual policy completed, there were blank lines and there were numbers like 5, 12, 15, and 12, 15, 12, I forget. Those 3 lines from thick depth of the substrate, I guess, needed to be inserted in that. So that we had an official policy that we could then indicate to her was what we were doing. Because if it's stated as standards, then we had to provide her with a certificate saying that we are in fact following the standards that we just, that we now have. So she needed 2 documents.
No,
Okay.
I
Oh,
thought
this is it?
copies.
Okay, so
So did you do all, you did 3
I
pages,
did all
right?
those 3 pages.
Okay, there's 4, there's actually 1, 2, 3, 4,
Okay.
5 pages, I didn't pass
annual
that
financial
out.
plan, okay.
So you guys, that's fine,
Can I make a copy of it?
now you can have that.
Oh, thank you. This is the copy.
Or for the
The original
previous-
she sent.
All right, so this is ready
That's
to
on the
be
fourth, I don't know
sent
what
out.
page she's
I'll
talking
leave this
about.
out.
Oh, this is
Move
the original.
on.
But she said it was 5 pages, that's only 4.
Oh, this is only 3. This was 3.
It was the TA 60, it says 2.1 on the bottom and then has winter expense, non-winter expense page and a signature page. So I guess it's 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. Okay, my mistake. Okay. So the Brookline policy, we're gonna table that. Right, because we don't have any documents done, document to sign.
Okay. Maybe in our work day
Number
next
6.
week, we could do that.
What, Gwen, could you do me a favor, just make a note for that, because I'm gonna look
A
it
note
up
for what?
for the road and bridge standards.
The
All right, I'm
policy.
gonna move on quickly through my select board chair report. I attended the New Thing Zoom meeting where they were talking about buying space for a community activity. If they're looking at other buildings and they're not looking to combine with Brookline at all. They're looking at villages and stuff in New Thing. ACO, we had a resident report a lost dog and then the dog came home, so I didn't have to do anything about that. That was good. We did receive in the mail the signed amended lease from Susie Quatermash for Susie's Little Peanuts that came in the mail. The Brookline Local Emergency Management Plan is due in May. I will have it finished and shared before the next meeting so that we can sign that and get that mailed out. Jordan Chapin can no longer represent Brookline, so I'll put a thing out on the listserv for rescue representation. And that's all I have at this time. So we'll go now to the building commissioner's report. Bruce, thank you. You've been very, very patient.
Don't get used to it.
Give him the 3 minutes he's entitled to.
Okay, go. I'm watching.
You guys can shut up.
Time's up.
I'll go by my boss's list. Code and code update for the boiler system, SLP. They were there again today for another 2-3 hours, getting those air handlers fixed. I'm looking into it, but those SOB air handlers, they're now, well, they're not off, but they were off all last weekend for 3 days. Because they were running constantly. They were set on a timer from 10 to 2, and the timer is this big, and it goes like this. So I called up Stephanie after they, it does.
I'm gonna eat that.
It's on the side of my butt. No, it's not, I got that, I don't have it. There. So I called Stephanie this afternoon after I saw, because I went over there, saw Hiram and Sean, both of them there. That's 2 people, $210 an hour. And they were just getting ready to go up into our favorite room upstairs and look at that air hammer working out the wiring. I think they probably fixed it, I just don't think they readjusted the timer, because I called up later, I said, Stephanie, yeah, it's still blowing, I can see that something, one of their toys or something blowing air up on the floor over it, which means it should be cutting off after 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So I went over there before the meeting, and sure enough, it was still going on, but this time I brought my flashlight, other than mouse patrol, and went down there and looked at the timer. And as soon as I adjusted, I had shut the breaker off. And as soon as I adjusted the timer to the proper time, went past the click on the 2 o'clock part, it would shut off on its own. So basically it runs from 10 to 2, 5 days a week. That's how the timer's set. But it swings so much, the time is not exactly right all the time, the time of the day. Anyway, I think they fixed it. I also, which I'll go over with Mark, we're planning on a little thing this weekend as well as I can do it. Of how to fix that room upstairs. There's a pneumonia hole up there. I think you or maybe Guy back when tried to fix that.
Yeah, we
insulation.
taped up everything and.
But when you go up the chute and the air handle's over here, this wall right here is completely open to the vent. The insulation had fallen off. So what needs to be done,
These are walls.
this was his opinion, is that you need to block it. Well, my opinion was very simple, and we'll see it Saturday. It's only a section up this wide, maybe it's a little more. It's a trapezoid, you frame it off with some 2x4s, put in some rock salt insulation, R30. You now have over about an R40 to 50 in there. Then you plasticize or whatever, and then he suggested that we do some kind of a finished wood over it, like plywood. I said, well, you know, it's not as good area sealing, well, maybe we get some glue on. Prices of the building materials are pretty expensive right now. But so I'm contemplating actually finishing off that inside of that whole room with the plywood, the glue on top of the insulation. After that, we should be fine.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have to open up that tile every year.
Quarter-inch glue on would work, 3/8 glue on would work fine.
Yeah, or I was even tempted to think maybe we should use some high armor sheathing, which is on the expensive side, but I don't know if I can use that without a finished surface on it because of fire. So I have to look into that, but I don't think I can do that. But anyway, so that's that. Let me go back to this list. Information about becoming more energy efficient and less reliant on propane for heating at SLP. That's for Tuesday. Information about solar panels and tax incentives for a tenant at the daycare building. That's for Tuesday, but I'll just have to say this about that. You both have gotten the information. It was sent when you both got the information when Phil Allen came down from Rutland with all the solar stuff. And I just gave copies to Gwen so she can review it and look at it. But basically what we're pointing at is, and I don't wanna get into it too deep because we really need to discuss it Tuesday, is having her take a loan to buy out the freaking the solar panels, because it's a difference of $30,000. The list on it's about 76, I believe, and with all the depreciation, if she can use all the tax benefits, depreciation and the 26% tax rate, to God tax
Rebates.
rebate, thank you, and other stuff, it brings it down to the 30s. And if she were, just to give you a little nutshell, if she were to buy those panels, she would have to own them for 5 years. So basically, we would have to work out something legally that we own those panels after a given time. And then, like I said, we're gonna get into that more Tuesday about what my idea is about having to pay for that and get ownership of it. And I don't wanna go too much into that. I wanna make a statement afterwards and then I'm pretty much done for today. LED lighting options at the daycare building, already done it, already got more, electricians look at it, we've already talked about it, we're in the process of considering doing it. And we're gonna, and that money will come out of her budget money, the money we collect from the rent. It's not gonna come out of the $140,000 we're getting from ARPA. Let me see, Efficiency Vermont program. I've already been 3 conversations with them. Multi-purpose room cleaning, repairs, the mold. I think we'll look at it again this weekend, but Mark put the board back down, I saw today, and we're gonna look around, and that's down the road. I'm not too awful upset about that. What really bothers me is I'm really worried about this daycare for a number of reasons. The one thing that bothers me more than anything else is they don't have anybody in the place.
They don't have,
Anybody in the place.
You're talking about employees or children?
Both. It's becoming pretty weak. I mean, I'm going back to Susie. I'm going back to Tina, and she had 30 to 50 kids in there all the time. They don't even have 20, as far as I can tell. I don't sit around and say 1, 2, 3, like that, but it's real minimal, and their staff is real thin. And that's the first indication because they have to have 2 people in every room for staff. They lost their cook, she foreclosed on her house or something and moved to Pennsylvania, Michelle. So now Erin's doing that. But anyway, I keep my eyes and ears open. And really close to my ass, excuse me, is here I am over at Grand State Electric yesterday getting prices for LED bulbs to figure out how we can minimize the electric usage for the place. So I'll go downstairs tonight to go in the boiler room. 30 lights are on, and the bathroom light and the fan.
In the entire building?
Downstairs,
Just
in the gym,
downstairs.
just downstairs in the gym.
I've turned that on for as well.
So, I'm gonna have to say something, but I don't wanna, it's not a dimmer, they just.
They're not
figured
timer
this
lights.
out. Oh, timer lights.
Well, for now, we're gonna go up.
Well, I think if Susie heard that, I think she'd hit the freaking roof, but I'm not gonna cut them off the scene, but. When you think you're trying to help them and eliminate their, cut down their electric usage and try to put in solar panels and put in air heat pumps to save their fuel, and then they do that crap, that frosts my butt. But anyway, next Tuesday, let me look at so I'm done with your list. And I'll be done with
That
mine.
was good, that was good. Go ahead.
It is your list, it ain't mine.
9 minutes. Thank you.
Shut up. Now what I wanna say,
All right, go ahead.
everything else on my list here, boiler upgrade, lighting.
You
I
got
have a
2
question.
minutes.
What? I have a question. I can't see, about 3 or 4 weeks ago, on the Vermont weekly report, it came through that Governor Scott was gonna farm out $2.2 billion of infrastructure money to the towns. A lot of it was pointed towards energy efficiency upgrades. A part of it was getting energy efficient, analysis of the building, which I've already talked to Chris up at Efficiency Vermont. We basically have already had it done. So I don't really need to redo it. We had it done in 2016 anyway. So what I'm driving at is immediately, we know we have $140,000. That's our money that we have gotten and are going to get this summer, total roughly. I don't know how close we're talking.
144,
Yeah, that's what, yeah.
Roughly.
79 each year, so that should be
160.
150 somewhere.
Oh, 158 then maybe.
Yeah.
I'm a little low. I love that. Okay. Then with the lease, we're gonna get 78.4 starting July 1st for that 3-year span. We're flushed with quite a bit of money, and Dot and I spent some time making up this list, which we'll talk about Tuesday, and I made notes on the list, and I started thinking about all the money we could spend, just ARPA money. Just ARPA money. And we would use it all, based on what I had for a list. And I'm not including so much what you were having to say for your tax work stuff, but I wanted to add to that, and talk about that for you. Because I think that we could, when I saw that $900 bill for oil today on the AP report, I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
our house was $1,149 today,
Yeah.
that's how much,
Well, you-
$4.90 a gallon.
Ask Susie how she would think about spending $30,000 next year on oil, on propane. We have I'm seeing, we got a big problem with that daycare. And if we're not careful, if we don't use our smarts to do it, we've already spent going over $11,000 on the heating system in 4 months. That's outrageous.
We've spent in the last year, I think, close to $25,000 at that school.
Is that right?
Yes,
That's crazy.
25 grand, that's more than
crazy.
we
I remember the
took.
$4 grand, the water system, that brings it up to 15, 16 without anything else. That's about $2,000.
Right now, we have, like I said, $4,100, and we have a reduced rent of $667
Yeah.
for the next 3 months, so
Yeah.
that's something.
Next 2 more months, I know that.
So we already got the.
Yeah.
But everybody, I made this list that Dot and I made, that she made, I actually give an example. Brookline Meeting House, painting inside and outside the wood structure, maintenance, sanctuary. Susie Peanut's budget, ARPA money. So I basically noted what I thought where we could get the money to do each item. And when I did that, I was adding up the dollars in my head. That wasn't using the whole $140,000 at all. That still left a shot of it left. Like I said, I'll go over it more Tuesday. And I think we should consider more about I think your ideas about the equipment for this building are a great idea, especially we talked about a computer in this room. And do something, maybe start thinking about how we're gonna make this building a little more efficient too.
By selling the school,
What's that?
by selling the school.
You're not gonna be able to sell that school. Good luck. You're gonna sell 7,000 square foot building out in the middle of nowhere, excuse me. The only one that might buy it would be maybe Kindle School, who would buy that? It's not
I don't
good-
know.
It's not good for
It's
anything.
just a thought.
It's just not a good thought, I'm afraid, because it's our building, and the way to do it, if you're gonna go down that roadway, the way to really do it is fix that building, make it efficient, make it work for the town of Brookline. Susie falls in and is able to use that building. If she ever stops using that building, then this town was in that building, and you sell this building, which is in beautiful shape. And you wouldn't have to ask as much money for it, and somebody could come in here, have a
Like an
dock
office.
office or whatever, and they could easily retrofit it, and then you could take a couple $100,000 and renovate whatever you have to do left on the other building, and whatever's left in town, you give back their taxes, whatever. I won't be around then probably.
Let me just
All right,
give you.
let's
yeah,
go on.
Okay, I'm done.
Let's go.
Unless anybody's got a question, the rest is gonna be for Tuesday.
No, I think you did a good job, I know you worked hard on
Thank
We're
this.
flushed with a lot of money. If we use, and it's a positive thing, we don't have to work like drunken sailors here. But if we use my opinion, if we use our equity, use our leverage properly, we can make that $140,000 and the other 78.4 out of Susie's budget and really do some monster damage to these buildings and everything in this town. And when we're done in the next year and a half, we'd be quite surprised.
All right, thank you,
That's
Bruce,
it.
very much. Gwen, you wanna just fill us in for Peter for Green Up Day?
Green Up Day, Embo, Madeline, Lucy said he would be more than happy to spearhead that. And so that's all taken care of.
All right, so I'm just gonna ask if you could follow through if he needs anything, or we need to contact any, or pay for bills or whatever that you help to
Green Up
coordinate that
bags,
with
yeah.
I already notified him that the Green Up bags were here and I haven't heard back from him. And he doesn't answer my emails and he doesn't answer my phone calls, so.
Yeah.
I got his email that I sent him, sent that
Yeah.
address unknown.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
he's changed that. He was a student, so his email was a student email referencing a
He did
place in
tell me
our
that he's
college.
working, what you said, he did.
Kindle Farms is where he's now working. So the number I had to reach him was a cell phone number from another state that he still has.
Yeah,
So I can give you that if you feel.
I have it.
Oh, you have it, okay.
but I got no answer.
Oh, well, I called him and he's answered on that cell phone. number.
Yeah, I called it and
Okay.
got no answer.
Should we put that
Sorry, who is it?
website that Green Up Day
It's called Timbo.
is coming?
TIMBO.
Is that who's in charge of Green Up Day?
Yes.
That's his first name.
Madeline.
Do we have? a-
Madeline,
His last name, Gwen's gonna spell it.
I'm gonna spell it because it's Madalena, MADDELENA dash Lucy, LUCEY.
When, may I ask, could you put a listserv memo out about the May date and that he is the contact person for people?
I think he said he was gonna do
All
that.
right, all right, hopefully we'll do it then, we need to get that advertised for people to know, sign up. All right, great. All right, gonna quickly go through communications, regular mail, we got something from the Vermont Land Trust, members of the select board. They're applying for a grant for Vermont Housing and Conservation. The letter notified you that the spring VLT will be closing on the grant development right conservation restrictions and public access easement on approximately 622 acres of land located in Athens, Brookline, and Townsend. The grant will be co-held by VLT and VHCB. Of the 622 acres, 384 are in Athens, 185 in Brookline, and 53 in Townsend. A copy of the grant is available upon request, and it will be sent to the Brookline, Townsend, and Athens town clerks. So there's more information. So this is what we sent a letter of reference, a letter of support for this particular project, if you'd like to read that. Another letter came in here from Wyndham Regional Commission. This is a potential, any potential big bridge projects need to be submitted to Wyndham Regional by Monday, May 9th for a V-Trans piloting infrastructure project. Okay, so, okay.
Give that to Stan.
Here,
Just look at it.
there's 3 trainings for listers, if anybody wants to do the listers,
No, well,
we already.
we got that in the mail.
Okay, Wyndham Regional, I did speak with or communicated with Alyssa Sabato about the Putney, mitigation plan, and so that has been done as required. This municipal highway grant application, who fills this out?
That came from, Melissa, Megan sent that also. This was, an opportunity for a grant. Municipal highway grant application.
Does Archie fill it out, or?
Oh, that's that
I don't know what this was for. You remember what that was, Stan, when they were talking about from Megan in regards to if that was another grant opportunity?
She recommended that we consider a particular grant
Right.
program. And she indicated that the application for it was not online.
Right.
So she promised that she would send it to us for our purposes,
Yeah.
whatever they may be. So we ought to hold on to this. If there's a file for municipal highway grants, or I can put it with my other paperwork that I'm carrying around,
Well,
which
you have a
someday I'm
grant-
gonna create a file for here, or add to the file that's out there.
Well, I think you should have a file right here in the select room where you can have all this and you be the person that knows where it is, and anybody else who needs to look at it can find it right in the, because we have file cabinets for the select board there.
Right, and the only thing that will materialize over time is there's a number of materials on the door out there, and that file kept second one in, the first one in. I think it's the first one in the bottom drawer, and then there's some over here, there's gotta be some melting of those two at some point in time. And I'd be happy to work on that, and keep everyone abreast of where and what things are, what's in them, et cetera, in some manner, shape that's organized. And the other thing that I mentioned about in the past is, at home on my computer, and I've got it backed up, I've got a 10 terabyte drive. Anything that I have been working on is in a file on the computer in the town of Brookline. And I don't know if there's anything like that here, but I have no problem copying my drive or my directory on that drive to bring it in here so that virtually anything that I have regarding grant applications, copies of documents, et cetera, is on a
Do you have a
computer.
Dropbox account?
A what?
A Dropbox account?
I've heard of it, but I don't know what it is exactly.
Okay,
It sounds like it's a cloud thing.
Yeah, it's something where we share different things.
Yeah,
So basically, we could set up some files in the treasury emails and, in a Dropbox. And it's a cloud thing, so, it's pretty safe. We'll talk about that, but we can,
yeah,
put everything so that there's accessibility and, in the event that something, if God forbid, we have a place that we have it in the cloud, that we can access it all the time. That would be the best way.
okay.
Great.
Okay.
The
I don't
last
believe in
piece,
the cloud myself.
the last piece of mail I got here is from Wyndham Solid Waste Management District, and they're asking for a letter of support, which I'm willing to supply to them. They are trying to obtain a grant for increasing the composting facility at Wyndham, solid waste, from 2,000 cubic yards to 4,000 cubic yards. And so they're just asking if we would like to, write a letter in support, and if that's all right with the select board, I will support that their need to do that. And at that time, I'm gonna move on to, pay orders.
Okay, whose name is,
Accounts payable and payroll.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that the board concurs with my action of signing the payroll warrant number 22-36 dated March 30th, 2022 in the amount of $2,460.63. May I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Stan. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of concurring with the signing of the payroll warrant 22-36 for $2,460.63 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thank you very much. I'll pass it down to sign it. I'd like to make a motion that the board approve accounts payable warrant 22-39 dated April 6th, 2022 in the amount of $19,819.77. May I have a second?
A second.
Seconded by Gwen. Any discussion?
Yes,
Stan?
there is an expense there for bond interest. I was under the understanding that we paid that once a year. And it was in the latter part of November, early December this past year. We had an expense for the $10,000, which is the principal part. And we had another expense, I thought it was of $2,900 and some odd dollars for the interest portion. So I'm not sure what this interest is all about at $1,300 if my memory's not.
What is it? I'm sorry,
The
what?
bond interest for the
We pay it twice a year.
okay,
Twice a year?
Yes.
So it's half of the roughly $2,800. Okay. Okay, so that explains it.
We pay the bond once, but we pay the interest twice a year.
Okay.
all right. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving accounts payable warrant 22-39 in the amount of $19,819.77 signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. I'm just gonna send that to you. Okay, consent agenda for the regular select board meeting on April 20th. Finish the vendor review. Any updates on the salt and sand shed? And
Beamers.
There's gonna be ads to that.
Vemers, what is that,
And so we.
VMERS for the 401(3), 401(b), and also ARPA review.
And Mark has some information about Will Excavator.
And yeah, well, that's always in there, yeah, excavating. Okay,
And
so
then the summary of the online bids that you got for the leaf blower. So that would be.
Leaf blower.
Okay. And then the result of my request to have the $36,000 added back.
okay. Excellent. All right, anything else? I'll just, we've got some time yet. All right, we will have a working session on next Wednesday
No.
at
Tuesday.
Tuesday at 1:00 to discuss for ARPA a little bit further. Anything else? I'm going to adjourn this meeting. The meeting is adjourned. The time is now 9:27 p.m. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you. That's an awful lot.
One second.
Meeting adjourned.
Aye.
Thanks, Peter.
Hey, Mark, yeah, tomorrow sometime in the afternoon,
I didn't
line wells
do that.
sharp.
Recording stopped.
Cause that's usually, he's gonna be like 20 minutes. Yeah.
Yes.
If you're not busy, that's one.
You were
thing.
signing in blue.
Don't worry about it.
You know what Susie sent
You were
back?
signing in blue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The leaf blower and the lady that does the rental for
No,
Florida,
it's
that's her phone number and her email. Just, I think, I'm not saying you have to, but if